Welcome back to the home studio and welcome to episode 55 of the Stevie Richards Show. This is a special review episode of not only WWE Saturday Night's Main Event, but also, and I'm not sure if it's still going on right now, AEW All In, which, by the way, if you're a numerology person, before we turn it over to James Romero, who literally just got done watching All In, well, maybe not, maybe it's still going on in his house. Some of it. Okay, so episode 55, fun fact, if you're a numerology aficionado, 5-5 is one number off from the total runtime of just the core pay-per-view, which was 5 hours and 56 minutes long, not to mention the 2 hour and 5 minute pre-show, 0 hour, and 2 hour post-show media scrum. Hey, the AEW All In pay-per-view was so long. Go ahead, James. Classic joke.
How long is it?
It was so long that when it started, I was clean shaven.
Well done.
The AEW pay-per-view was so long
that your shirts grew sleeves.
Yes, there we go. Right on page. Hey, Oh, by the way, Jeff Jarrett was on 0 hour with the Jeff Jarrett.
Hang on, yeah, isn't Jeff Jarrett in his retirement year where he wanted to get the AEW World title one more time, and as soon as he said that, pretty much he never wrestled again? That was 6 months ago.
He's in Power. He's actually in the creative committee or whatever it's called there, so he unbooked himself, I guess. So turning it over finally, officially, to my very tired, exhausted co-host, James Romero.
Yeah, I am. So I woke up early and I thought, right, we can get this. Editor Chris came round. He wanted to watch it as well, just to watch it. And I put it in and I looked at the runtime and 6 hours. And I was like, this must be a joke. This must have to be the pre-show as well. 6 hours and 10 hours all told with pre and post shows. It's nuts, man. Anyway, let's do the intro first because we've got so much to say about both shows. So the intro, I've not written anything down. But anyway, what do we do? Stevie Richards Fitness on YouTube. Go subscribe to that. Stevie Richards on Cameo. Go there. Get yourself a cameo from Stevie Richards, one of the most requested people on the entire platform, and for good reason as well. And the Patreon that we don't know what we're doing for at the moment because we're recording this on a Sunday. And as a Catholic type, Stevie, surely this is an affront to you, working on a Sunday no less.
Well, I've already done, the Sabbath. I've already done my morning prayer, and I got to go back and do my rosaries after this. I was actually trying to pray to God that the pay-per-view would end a lot sooner than 6 hours. So, once again, I mean, let's put it in full context as we get right into it. This was just a microcosm of the entire weekend of shows. There was something on commentary with AEW that the commentator said, oh, this person and this person and this person, this is the third time they'll be wrestling in 24 hours, which my wife turned to me and said, oh my God, aren't these people going to get hurt wrestling that often in 24 hours? I go, yeah, I think one of them already did, Adam Cole. So we're going to get into all that with AEW and also WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. The Goldberg Gunther match will be a watch along when we record episode 56 on Wednesday. So stay tuned, Patreon. That watch along with the full match will be coming next week on Patreon. Once again, we're bumping Test back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Test. Right, first talking point I want to get to. Before any of the pay-per-views even took place, there has been controversy, interest. WWE versus AEW. Apparently there's a wrestling war on once again. I was sort of kind of unaware of it, and now apparently WWE sort of feels like there definitely is a wrestling war because they've been going out of their way and counter-programming and counter-booking AEW stuff quite a lot recently, it seems. I've got a couple of different examples for you. So, of course, like All In, there were no less than 3 super shows in 2 days. So, All In, Ring of Honor was Friday, we're not even including Ring of Honor, and then WWE countered that with Saturday night's main event in Atlanta, Georgia, also NXT Great American Bash as well. I heard the show was inoffensive but not particularly important. Anyway, once again, we didn't have time to watch that. So WWE has also supposedly tried to book the ECW arena just a week before AEW was taking up a 7-week residency in the building. And then when, for whatever reason, they couldn't, we guess, they ended up booking the Wells Fargo Center a week before in Philadelphia. Am I right?
Yeah, they used to call it the FU Center, the First Union Center. It was Wells Fargo and whatever else there. Now, here's a question about that. I know that, they're doing like a 7-week run at the arena, and they were trying to get the week before. Is it NXT that's at Wells Fargo or WWE? Because it's kind of a war, but at the same time, a little bit of an insult thrown at AEW that we're sending our developmental show to counter you, like Great American Bash instead of Saturday Night's Main Event. They're trying to say the secondary brand or the developmental brand is still better than their full-time roster and everything they offer. Do you get that kind of inclination that they're trying to throw out there?
Well, it's WWE Raw is going to be the Wells Fargo Center, and NXT is going to be the Met Philadelphia, which I don't know that venue.
I don't know that venue either. It could be renamed or a new building.
So here's the really interesting bit is that, well, for a couple of years, it seemed like there was no wrestling war. I mean, originally when AEW came out, NXT was, WWE counter-programmed by releasing NXT from the WWE network and doing a last-second deal to get it on the USA network, directly opposite AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite basically won that war, I guess, to the point that NXT then moved to Tuesday. And then all sorts of back and forth over many, many years, of course. And then it seemed to have died down in the last year with WWE having such great fortune since, 2023, I guess. And now, all of a sudden, WWE is faltering somewhat. AEW is where AEW is at currently. And now WWE are trying to make life as hard as they can for AEW by counter-booking their programming. Almost like the old NWA Clash of the Champions thing.
Yeah, that's true. They used to do... Didn't WWE initially, NWA would do Starrcade on Thanksgiving, and then Survivor Series was created to counter that, correct? And then they would do the Clash of Champions going head-to-head, or WWE would go head-to-head with Clash of Champions on some pay-per-view schedules. Am I off base with that?
I'll give you another one. Royal Rumble was created as a free television special originally to counteract, was it the Bunkhouse Stampede or something? So,
something like that. And Duggan won that on the first one on the USA Network, correct?
He did.
Cool. All right. So here's my theory. Let's start off right, because this is a great theme to kind of compare these. We complained, or kind of like pointed out in a way, it's very objective. 6 hours is a lot, especially 2 hours before, 2 hours after. And the 2-hour pre-show also had matches. So it wasn't even like when you watched that 6-man tag title match to open up the show, you weren't just getting a first match. It was literally like the first match that already happened during that 2-hour, 0 hour. But do you believe that AEW was purposely making it 5 hours and 56 minutes to distract people or not have people go over and check out Saturday Night's Main Event, which started at 8 p.m. Eastern time?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
So the pay-per-view essentially did an overrun on purpose like TV does sometimes.
Yeah, I figure that's what time did it start for you? Because I didn't realize it was so early, the start time.
3 p.m. Eastern time.
So 3 p.m. Eastern time, so 9 p.m. it would have ended.
So they went into almost a full hour after Saturday Night's Main Event started, so people would not consume both. But don't you think, I guess we're going with a lot of overarching themes, there's a theory in the wrestling business, and I'd really love to do a segment about not only the psychology of a wrestling match, but a psychology of the actual card and the way each match has its own purpose leading up to that main event. But do you think that by a 5-hour, 56-minute pay-per-view time with the 2-hour and 2-hour bumper, before and after, do you think it tires out even an AEW diehard fan to say, man, that's just enough wrestling, I got to take a break, and may not even watch Wednesday based on that?
That's the point, though, isn't it? I mean, all this we've not even talking about the women's pay-per-view tomorrow, which has also been booked.
No,
so
tonight.
Today, I'm sorry. Tonight, as we record this, yesterday, I guess, this might even be released Sunday. This is a complete rush job we're doing, by the way. So it's just.
And I want to just point out while I'm thinking about it, sorry to interrupt, I assume my common sense as somebody that doesn't want to completely just light a match or roll a grenade in the pay-per-view room for the weekend, I was like, wow, they have the women's pay-per-view next week. And then I double-checked, and I told my wife, and I go, that's actually today. And she goes, after all the other stuff, they're expected to buy the women's pay-per-view? I go, yeah. And she kind of And what I thought was like they don't care about that. They're just setting it up to fail, I guess, or don't care what it draws.
No, that's the point. They're setting that up not to fail, although it will fail, or it is a bit of a failure because they're not selling that many tickets. It's really heavily papered. The booking hasn't been very good at all. I mean, the Goldberg Saturday night's main event booking is well better and actually generated some interest. This Women's Evolution show is the biggest afterthought WWE have put out in a very long time, and all because they want to just dilute fan interest in AEW. I'm absolutely certain of that. And they're shooting themselves in the foot doing it. I mean, they won't lose any money or they won't lose any sleep over any tickets they didn't sell because there's just too much going on. But here's the thing. Wrestling promotions in a wrestling war. It's happened so many times in Georgia and Mid-South and, with WWE, with everyone, basically. Why are they doing it again now? I don't get it.
I don't get it either because WWE is making money hand over fist.
But they're acknowledging AEW. They're starting a war, but therefore and then now they're acknowledging AEW as a bigger threat than maybe gate receipts or whatever would, tell you otherwise.
I don't understand it. I don't understand because when you're number one, and which clearly they're number one by profit, by ratings and all that stuff and every merchandise sales, I assume it's just a juggernaut with TKO and everything being sponsored. By the way, AEW took a beat from WWE because of the Assassin's Creed sponsored entrance during Will Ospreay. Because, you see ninjas, you think of Will Ospreay right off the bat.
It's not the first time I think he's been sponsored by them either. Ubisoft has had a bit of a relationship, I think, with AEW for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I'm jealous. Trust me, I would want the Assassin's
you'd wear
Creed
the hood.
entrance
You
too.
would wear the hood and the jacket, I know. If,
absolutely. I'd be a video. Yeah, I'd be the NFL 2K5 thing and get Madden fans mad all around the world. But looking at that, that's a great point. Like, what is WWE's end game by acknowledging or competing or trying to take away fans from AEW? Because we've talked about it in the past. We talked about it last week. We talked positively about AEW. WWE fans are going to get mad at us. We talk positively about WWE fans. AEW fans get mad at us. We're somewhere in the middle. But that polarization's good because it's tribal. But how are you going to convert somebody that's already predisposed to hate your product because they like the other product? That's really a tough, double-edged sword, I guess you would say, to use an Assassin's Creed pun with that.
So it's 2025. I mean, who are you really hurting here? Because I guess most people, have still got lives and a finite amount of time because there was Dynamite, then Collision on Thursday, which we'll be talking about Collision on Thursday later. Then we had on Friday SmackDown and the Ring of Honor show. Then on Saturday, I think we had the NXT Great American Bash and All In and Saturday night's main event. And on Sunday, we've got the Evolution show. But the thing is that pretty much it's been 6 years almost of AEW's existence. You're pretty much entrenched in who you're going to enjoy or want to watch the show of more. I think there's a very, very, almost like swing voters. It's a very, very small percentage of people who are going to, choose one over the other. And then everybody else is like, well, pay-per-view, you can just buy after the fact, or you can just record Saturday night's main event. So all this effort, and I think weirdly, the only All In will be hurt a little bit by pay-per-view sales. That's for sure. But it seems that the Evolution pay-per-view is really going to be the biggest loser in this because all the booking power has been going towards SummerSlam and Saturday night's main event, and now this pay-per-view that no one can remember is happening is completely suffering for it.
Well, let's start Wednesday. I'm going to add the time up. I'm not a math expert or anything.
Okay.
I'm just a doctor, not a mathematician. 2 hours of Dynamite on Wednesday, correct?
Yep.
2 hours of Collision on Thursday, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's 4 hours. 3 hours or more of the Supercard show Friday night?
We'll be generous and say 3. That's 7.
No, what I'm just saying 3 minimum of just that pay-per-view. And then you also you had a 0 hour of that.
Okay.
Which was 2 hours before. So basically 7, then 9. Because you're counting that 0 hour. Saturday.
SmackDown 2 hours.
Oh, SmackDown.
That's 11.
So it's 11 hours right there. Then of course, yesterday was the big one. So 2, 6, 2, so 10, so 21 hours of that. Great American Bash, 2 hours or 3? 2, probably,
2,
right?
probably. So that's 10
Okay.
hours, 21. Then Saturday night's main event was 2, so that's 23. The Evolution pay-per-view will probably be
But
3.
you forgot about Great American Bash. If that was 2, that's
No,
now 25.
because we're not having the post-show for All In, because that would have been 10, but it's actually 8.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so it's either 23 or 25 hours of wrestling in 5 days.
But then today, we have a minimum of a 3-hour show with the women's pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, I included that.
So now, are you included?
Yeah, so we'll say 23 to 25 hours.
Hey, I have to apologize. Remember I said we were going to do a watch-along live reaction?
Yeah,
It would not have bode well. I almost fell asleep after the second match again.
You were texting me last night, and I was like, and you were like, "Oh my god, the Money in the Bank Casino Gauntlet thing is still going on. It's still going on." And then you said also, you nearly passed out in disappointment when you were watching the Hurt Dynasty, and then one of the announcers said there was 3 more matches to go, and you were like, "Oh god."
I literally went on the floor and got into the fetal position. My cats were checking on me. So where do we start? I guess if we're talking more about AEW All In, we should probably start with
just before we do, just one more thing on this WWE AEW thing is, once again, you said you don't know what the end game is, but why would WWE try and hurt AEW business when the fact is that they're both operated by multi-billion-dollar conglomerates who can, you know, afford to run shows for free for probably the next 100 years, quite frankly. It's not like the territory days. You're not damaging anyone. It's just annoying for nothing else for the fans, I think.
Well, isn't it the point of wrestling that the word I always attach, especially when it comes to WWE, is pettiness? Being petty. And also, I don't understand why you have so many people on the roster that you can put your energy into and your time into to draw even more money. And name comes to mind is Karrion Kross and a ton of other people that you can really put a proper investment into those people and get a big return and make even more money instead of spending this time trying to figure out a way to book shows and shoehorn shows in AEW's way. But what you're doing also is you're shoehorning those shows and pay-per-views and damaging your own product in the process. You're literally going, it's mutual assured destruction in a way, even though, like you said, they could run it for 100 years for free. But now we're all on the treadmill of lateral movement by paying attention to another brand.
So, before we get into All In itself, there were things that were good on the show, there were things that were bad. I mean, I had to listen to Dave Meltzer, just like, how many 5 stars is he going to give this show? And he was like, this is one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. It was absolutely fantastic. And I thought, that's got to be him. And then I checked out some other reviews as well, and everyone's basically given the show an A or something like that. You know, really, really high marks for the entire show. We're going to talk about the entire card in a minute. But watching this show, this is probably the most AEW you've watched in a while, I'd suggest. What are some of the good things and what are some of the bad things with the AEW presentation? An overarching sort of capsules grading, I guess, and you know, the things that you change and the things that you like that AEW do in 2025.
Well, I think the number one thing that they did presentation-wise is All In. Now, when you think about All In or the All Out pay-per-views, you're going to think about a stadium show, much like WrestleMania. When I thought about All In and I saw them first stadium show or biggest stadium show in North America they've ever done, it's a big deal. They shot it well. They are right on par, and I think it has more of a gritty presentation in WWE. You were talking about oversaturation, looks too clean. AEW has that sweet spot between the old WCW Nitro and WWE. They've dialed in that presentation with that, and it did have a big fight feel. And I will say this, for the people that say it's an A, you got your money's worth. We're talking about 6 hours, but if you were paying and you wanted to sit down and you wanted to get the most out of however much money you paid for this pay-per-view or the ticket to be in the building, then you got your money's worth. Talent all worked hard, although that's a double-edged sword that will go into the con category as well, because they work so hard that a lot of stuff got glossed over and forgotten because there was so much to digest in this 5 hour and 56-minute show. And dare I say, they could have done a disservice to the main event matches because they gave so much in those first few matches and maybe tired the fans out. Now, the fans came back alive during the end, during the last 2 or 3 matches, thank God. But there was a real exhaustion factor, or being tired as you watch this show. It was just like, wow, it's so long, and that's not that turns into a bad thing for the talent that want to make the moments and the memories within what they had. So we can go match by match, but I'll revisit that theme of it was good, but then again, it turned out to be forgettable because there was so much to try to remember during the show.
I'm going to give you one thing that was apparent all the way through the show that bugged me, and I kept asking Chris the same things like, who is that guy? I didn't have my glasses. The baby keeps taking the glasses off my face. So I kept squinting, and I was like, who is that? And it turns out to be Roderick Strong, which is sort of my bad. But then, had the Guns out there who hadn't been seen in ages. There was one of the girls out there in the women's casino Gauntlet who hadn't been seen in 2 years. There's a lot of assumption that you know who all of these people are. And because there are so many people on the card, unless you're watching every single week, then and sometimes even if you are watching every single week, there is a lot of blanks that aren't being filled in.
They do require the fans to do a lot of work to remember and figure out and do all this stuff instead of really telling a story about these people. Now, in these Casino Gauntlet is basically a Royal Rumble. So you're getting the pop for the entrance, the return, the surprise, all these things. I get that. But once again, how many times do we hear she's back, he's back after being, oh my God, when everything's a surprise and a return, it dilutes the impact of the return and the surprise. So now they threw everything against the wall. Like I said, they had Edge come back. They had all these people. They had turns. They had angles. They opened up with, and then when we get to the actual match, opening up with Joe getting stretchered out is an automatic, like, the people aren't excited for the second thing. It's very subdued.
Yeah, why would they do a heavy heat angle after, it's just meant to be a bouncy 6-man to just get the fans up and get people excited? And here's the other thing. I thought this show was meant to be sort of like the death of the Death Riders kind of thing. So they lose cleanly in the opening match of the pay-per-view itself. And then they do this neck thing where I think everyone was laughing because they do a Pillmanizing, if no one's seen it yet, of Joe's head. But he's got the biggest head in the world. You would assume in Joe's head versus chair that Joe's head would win.
Yeah, I thought actually they were getting heat on the chair when they stomped on the chair with Joe's head. But let's get right into it. 6-man was fun. I really want to say this, which people can be very polarizing about this. There's something about Wheeler Yuta that I really, really like. His hair's growing out. He's got the beard. He reminds me a little bit of myself as you're the guy that's going to get knocked around. You're the chicken, heel that the big guys are going to beat up and do. In the way he sold and bumped. The only thing I didn't like, and I'd love to break that down, was every time he got snap-married, he planted that right hand down. Dude, you're going to break your wrist, hyperextend your elbow, just take the snap-mare and kind of land on your butt. But at the end of this is where I want to do what went wrong on the stretcher job. The EMTs put him on the backboard, but they don't have a neck brace. They're holding his head as they flip him. And then he's on the backboard with no maybe because his head's so big, but they didn't have a neck brace on him. But they're handling him like the neck brace is literally like a Reiki massage where you stick the fingers into the back of the neck. You didn't notice that?
No, I didn't notice that.
They didn't put a collar on him.
That wouldn't be the first time they did that either, because they did that in the main event as well.
So you mean to tell me you got a George Washington crossing the Delaware River boat for the Young Bucks, but you couldn't get a neck brace for Joe? You should have neck braces at every show with the way these people wrestle.
So, let's move. Right, we've got a lot of things to say, I guess, on the next one. Is the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal. This is for a future AEW Championship match. It went... Have a guess how long it went.
My guess would be 40 minutes.
34:55, so not too far off.
Which is basically Royal Rumble territory, which is usually an hour, hour and 5. And you had 2 of them. So basically you combine them, that's a whole Royal Rumble with that. And I remind people, you have a male second match, then later on you had the female gauntlet style, which means everybody gets an entrance, everybody does whatever they do, they stand at the... It adds up. I mean, the entrance stuff, it was very, very weird how they were trying to shoehorn a lot of angles into this, which that's normally what this kind of match is for. But the main one was the MJF Mystico thing, which was off the match they had in Mexico, where MJF had unmasked Mystico with that, which was a major deal. Also, the Mark Briscoe thing, a ton of heat on MJF between the Mark Briscoe and Mystico stuff, especially Mark Briscoe saying he should have been the one that died in the accident, not Jay, to cause that heat. So you had some really, really strong stuff going into this, but then he's back. Oh, well, who's this? This is you know what I mean? It was mixed in with a lot of stuff, and it felt like it was becoming gloss over territory, but they kind of wrapped it right back around into it within 35 minutes back into that finish.
So MJF and Briscoe are first, because you helpfully, you wrote down every single person in order, and I thought, oh, we'll just find it online, and I couldn't find it in that quick amount of time. MJF, Mark Briscoe first, as you already mentioned, then we're going straight into Ricochet. I do like that everyone is slapping his head.
Mm-hmm. Ricochet has started to grow. I have a Wheeler Yuta kind of thing.
It took a while for Ricochet. Everyone was like, oh my God. Like the first few months when he was in AEW, it was like he found a character that eventually that was terrible. And now it's just got to the point where he's sort of, as you say, grown into it.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, Bischoff famously says you need at least 6 months to emotionally invest in a character, and then it's kind of a gaslighting thing. Eventually, everybody goes along with it if they really do. If they don't, then they never will. But you need to give time for that. Yeah, Ricochet's kind of grown on me that way, and I wish the WWE would have did a little bit more, because I just feel like AEW has a very much a stop-start thing. That's the thing. Oh, he's back. He's here. This, they don't really follow through and keep people consistently over to a certain extent. But I think Ricochet's done most of the stuff on his own. I can't see creative telling him to kind of do the Andrew Tate character and now whatever that's morphed into currently.
Next up is Bandido. That was it?
Yeah.
All right, good.
That was it.
Okay.
Well, Bandido, they talked about how he had one of the greatest matches on ROH Supercard of Honor. I haven't checked it out against Takeshita. Was that the name?
Takeshita.
Wheeler Yuta.
Sorry.
It's not, I know it's Y-U-T-A and not U-T-A-H. Everybody with the Rhea Ripley stuff, too. Welcome to Philadelphia. MFers is the second city undercard guy that I am.
Do you know, right, one thing we didn't do in either of our notes is write down any of the moves. Because how can you?
Well, here's the formula. This could go into something. This is what bugs me, and AEW didn't do anything wrong. WWE does the same exact thing. How do we change the formula of person's music hits, person in the ring goes, oh my God, I can't believe it's them. Like we're supposed to know there's an angle or something most times. They run to the ring, and everybody waits to let this person shine on everybody, and then the person right before the time or the 10-second for the next loop of the same thing gets cut off and shut down. Do you notice that becomes so tiresome no matter what company is doing it? I don't know how we change that tired old trope of the Royal Rumble and Gauntlet match stuff. You come in, shine, shut down. You come in, shine, shut down. We double team, shine, then we get shut down.
It's more silly in this, though, because at least in a Royal Rumble, one, it's supposedly, anyway, timed entrances, 2 minutes apart, but it's actually whenever they want as well. But also, everybody keeps in the ring, so there's always some motion. But on this one, everyone scarpered from the ring to then let the next person come in. Then everyone left the ring again to let the next person come in. And it was really, for me, it was really jarring. I'm going to say this right now. As soon as I saw it was 6 hours, it was already a dampener on the pay-per-view for me. So I was just, I wasn't... If it was watching it live and I hadn't known it was going to be that long, then I probably would have a different reaction. But when you know you're going into an ordeal, and then when I only had 4 hours actually, or 4.5 hours to watch it, so I was skipping through like as much as I could of the in-between bit. So anyway, next up is, speaking of breathing, Mystico comes out.
Yeah. Of course. I want to make a point, too, before we get into the Mystico thing, because that's mystifying. Like what I did there in our dad joke. Mm-hmm. So my sleeves are growing. The pay-per-view's still going on. But when I'm looking at this, you said 4 hours. I wouldn't doubt there was 2 hours of entrances in this pay-per-view. The time you add them all up, especially the Bucks, Ospreay, Swerve, we'll get to that. Mystico is mystifying for this. And that's why I said there were some strong things going into the Casino Gauntlet. But the strongest one was probably the most personal issue was Mark Briscoe and MJF because of what MJF said about his brother Jay, who passed away. Then the Mystico thing was the big Mexican unmasking in Mexico during that match. Tons of heat coming in that. And we're in Texas, so that translates pretty well in my estimation or speculation. Mystico's music hits, your favorite song of all time. He comes down, and I'm like, okay, well, he's going to gain. This is the one time where I would say you should come down and start shining on a Casino Gauntlet match. But he literally ignores MJF and starts like doing the singing and the dancing or whatever with the fans for a good 30 to 60 seconds, would you say?
The fans were not singing and dancing. No one knows the words to this song. I was like, why has Mystico got Julio Iglesias' theme song?
But by the way, in Mystico's entrance, what was MJF doing to Bandito?
Oh, was he
trying to unmask him?
Yeah.
So you're not only coming down to the ring to avenge the fact you don't got unmasked, but when your music hits, one of your fellow luchadors is currently trying to get unmasked or trying to resist it. It was a total disconnect, and it's like, well, if Mystico doesn't care that MJF ripped his mask off, why should I care? Then they finally kind of got into it, but it wasn't like Mystico was going after him and trying to beat him up like Mark Briscoe. He just started doing lucha wrestling. It was very, very strange and a huge disconnect. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Next one is Josh Alexander. I always think, poor Josh. I always thought AEW was the wrong place for him. So I just thought he'd definitely get lost in the shuffle. I sort of think he has.
Oh, sort of. Not. I mean, I didn't even know he was there. I remember he debuted and did something, and now he's just another guy. Hopefully he's getting paid well. He has a family. He seems to be a very nice guy from what people like Swinger, who were in TNA, and other people have told me. But it just didn't translate. The style didn't translate, and his suplexing, there was no reaction to anything Josh did. Did you feel that way too?
Do you think it would have been a risk for him to go to NXT, or maybe what he should have done if he was offered, by the way? Which I figure he would have been with the TNA relationship.
Well, when he left, I think that was just before the relationship started or sometime before. So he might have taken the surest deal that he could at the time, having a family. So, and I'm sure Tony Khan is paying him very well, but wrestlers don't get it. We get into the business to make money. And after we're done, we look back and go, I wish I had a better business sense. But in the moment, we're all marks and just want to work. So that's why you hear these people on Twitter or social media complaining about, like Keith Lee's the most recent one, which, by the way, Keith Lee didn't show up at all in this.
He's healthy.
Which is strange.
He's healthy, apparently. He said, I was waiting for the call. Been 2 years.
So is that a Heat thing where he pointed out that I'm not being used, and now they're like, oh, you're not being used? Well, hold my beer. We're not going to use you. Well, on a 6-hour show and with a battle royal and multiple multi-person matches and six-mans, you weren't figured in. That's insulting, man. And I think he lives in Texas.
Oh, no. Oh, so the whole bit then?
He used to live in Texas. If he's still in Florida, I'm not sure, but there you go.
I think the last time Keith Lee was seen, it was in the background of like the WWE Hall of Fame, one of the backstage interviews, and he was just hovering around in the background. There you go.
Oh, well, do you think there's something to that?
Yeah, it could be. Could well be. Next up was Anthony Bowens. And then next up was Roddy Strong.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't know it was Roddy either, and I wrestled Roddy. I don't know why he looks so different to me.
Why does he look so anonymous? Because, Chris has got good eyesight. He didn't recognise him. I've got bad eyesight. I obviously didn't recognise him. And we were just staring at him. Who is that guy?
I have cataracts. I didn't recognize him.
Well, you didn't have to have cataracts to not recognise him, but he's so anonymous at the moment. Brody King, he's not anonymous, if nothing else.
He's not, but Brody's another one, like, for some reason, just like Josh Alexander, the style just doesn't speak to the AEW presentation. Like, he's if he was in NXT, I think he would be right up there and pushed like a Keith Lee when he went to the main roster. There's something about him, the pacing of it. He's a monster. So maybe just in the world of sudden, knee triggers and other stuff like the pacing doesn't match with what we see. He feels like him and Josh and even Keith Lee feel like WWE paced wrestlers, if that makes sense.
Next up, Juice Robinson without a beard.
He looked like a serial killer.
He did look like a murderer, but the kind of like creepy murderer who like lives in the basement.
You and I have been doing 55 shows now. Like immediately when I saw him, I was like, James and I probably
grow that beard back immediately. Like that beardless Juice Robinson does nothing for him. He still had the Bang Bang Gang T-shirt on, so it's like he never changed his shirts. He just turned up 8 months later and went, "Hi guys, is it still happening?" No, all right.
Well, I do have information on that. By the end of the pay-per-view, his beard did grow back.
Yes, it probably will have done. It's probably like, yeah, I think so.
He was like Tom Hanks and Castaway by the end of it.
You probably could have watched Castaway 4 times in a row.
I'm going to tell you during one of the matches what I did successfully. And by the way, if you're watching Fantastic Four, here's another dad joke. The Thing, when he came back with the beard, he had just come from the AEW All In pay-per-view.
I do not doubt that as well. Kota Ibushi next. You didn't wrestle Ibushi, did you?
No, I never did. I wanted to, but I talked about one of my favorite matches was him and Cedric Alexander in the Cruiserweight Classic. There's something about, like, are we at a point now where everybody that was like the talk of the town in the initial like year or two of AEW, like the Kota Ibushis and other people, do you think they're sort of stale? Because he didn't get the reaction I thought he was going to get. And it just felt like he must have did that front kick 15 or 20 times to everybody. And it just did not get the people excited. It's a weird thing. It's like we're heading to a point now where are these people old toys? And are the new toys taking over?
Absolutely. And I think he's been pretty much pegged as a mid-carder now, so why get too excited over him? And also, keep in mind, this is 3.5 hours into the show. So unless there's a big, exciting... Like a Keith Lee would have been the perfect guy to bring out. So I think the only slight... I think Juice Robinson was unexpected, and that was it, really. Maybe Mystico to a point, but probably not either. And then we have the Beast Mortos and Max Caster at the end. But Max Caster waited like 8 minutes before coming out.
I really do. And this is where the internal clock of the promoter, of creative, and even the wrestlers within the company is different than the fans. In my estimation, the Acclaimed as a team, now that they're at this big show and people are starting to kind of see there's a war going on, the Acclaimed would be the perfect act to make fun of everything in WWE that's wrong, like they used to. But because of the internal clock, they're like, well, they've been a team here for, 4 years? Oh, they're getting... No, people are just starting to get really... They
were getting stale. They were getting stale because they weren't being booked properly.
But that's not their fault. No. I'm just saying, they literally could have been the ones to come out and shoot on WWE each and every week on TV and pay-per-view. And this whole thing with Max Caster is the greatest wrestler alive.
That's been going months. Anthony Bowens isn't going anywhere. I mean, they are more than the sum of their parts. No, I'm sorry. The sum of their parts is more than them. Yeah.
This is the Dudleys when they broke the Dudleys up in the draft.
Yeah.
And then they had to get the Dudleys back together.
The thing is, right, if you're going to do like that attacking WWE thing, keep in mind that Max Caster was reprimanded heavily a couple of times, including one thing he said about Vince McMahon, you know, after the Janelle Grant thing happened. I think it was Janelle Grant, not the initial one. So, I mean,
he got in trouble for the Duke thing too in North Carolina when he rapped about the Duke thing.
I don't remember.
There was a few things about the college. There was a controversy with that. There was a few where they wanted him to say it until he said it, and then he got reprimanded by Tony Khan, and then there was some deal where they brought Tony Khan out for something on in between commercial breaks or very weird stuff.
Did he dance?
You need. Oh, nobody got hurt in the ring, so of course not.
Okay.
But no. I mean, that's what you want. That's the edginess. That's what stands out from the milquetoast WWE, which WWE is trying to get a little bit more adult oriented. But you can go the completely opposite way with that. No, them as singles, man, is like it's painful to watch.
The thing with the Acclaimed is that, like, they were saying things that were not that strong, but even any hint of impropriety or controversy in that case, you get more than a slap on the wrist, you're taken off TV or split up apparently. But the thing is, like, TV and social media and everything else is getting dirtier and more, you know what I mean? You can say anything you want practically and you're not going to lose sponsors over it. So I think they should get them back together and lean into it. Not like a Voodoo Kin Mafia way where that was just embarrassing for the most part.
Did they break them up because of that, or did they just break them up because they wanted to try being singles?
I think they just broke them up to try being singles. But if and when they get back together, because it's doing them no favors being separated. So
yeah, I have to say, as a talent though, you want to see if you can stand on your own, but also as a businessman, you have to look at what really makes you money and keeps you on TV, and the chemistry with those two guys as a team. When they were teaming with Billy Gunn, or they had him as a manager and he was out there, all three of them, I don't remember them. I mean, Billy especially being over in DX and everything, and then being almost just as over with those guys without even taking a bump. And those guys didn't even need to wrestle. And they would have been over each and every week. It's so strange. Sometimes the wrestling business and people get too creative for their own good and try to go outside of what works and what's easy.
Do you want a fun fact? Have a guess the last time that Billy Gunn wrestled on AEW TV.
Late 2023.
May of 2024. So
Wow.
It has been 14 months. Here's the thing, though, is that it's not like he's not been on TV. They just don't let him wrestle anymore.
Well, they shouldn't even let him stand next to the other people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right. Billy, they need to come back from commercial with whoever he's with already in the ring and him on the floor, and he'll still almost be eye to eye with them.
Yeah, he's almost got like the Slick syndrome. You know, the manager Slick, where he was taller than every single person he managed apart from One Man Gang.
Yeah, they weren't the Twin Towers. They were the Triple Towers because he was as tall as them.
He was the flagpole, basically. Right. Of the finish of the match, hey, it's great for MJF. It sort of continues MJF. Because MJF, like, with all these guys in there, he's head and shoulders the biggest star. And he also wins it in the slimiest way, which is perfect. So it was the Jay Driller, Mark Briscoe lands on Roderick Strong. Am I right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The most anonymous guy in the match, at least, if nothing else, so no one will remember it. And then MJF steals the pin.
The funny thing is, we bookended strong angles. We came back around to the same thing we started with. So in that way, it's smart. But when it's filled in with 32 minutes of other stuff, man, it becomes really hard to be invested in that and wait till the finish of that. And I'm still not like, I think it's a weird thing, or maybe they're just planting seeds for Lashley and MJF in the future, but MJF being part of the Hurt business or Hurt Syndicate in AEW, it's very strange because he's the kind of heel that even heels would hate. That's how hated he should be.
So, we're moving on to the four-way, and guess what happened? Well, before the four-way, we're going to be talking about this afterwards because we've got the what went wrongs and everything coming on later in the show. Adam Cole comes out and says he's injured. It's very, very tearful. I thought it was going to be, him getting attacked or something. It turned out it was all legitimate. We're going to be talking about that and watching that injury, or how that injury happened later on in this show. But that announcement put a massive dampener on the next hour or so of the show. So there's Dustin Rhodes. He defeats Daniel Garcia, Carl Fletcher, and Sammy Guevara in a four-way for the vacant AEW TNT Championship that Adam Cole had just vacated. Is there anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think this is not the beginning of it, but this is basically where it's glaringly obvious that the finishes were overbooked. The matches were severely overbooked because there was a point where they caught, and I'm not sure exactly what it was because it was a false finish. See, I try to remember, but it was where you teased dissension between Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, who are tag champs, right? So or six-man tag champ, ROH. See, this is where we're going to get in this. The ROH tag champs, and then we got the AEW tag champs, then we got the six-man tag champs, and all this other stuff going on. But there was a point in the match where Sammy had hit Dustin by mistake and super kicked him, and then Dustin had won for a pin, and Sammy was watching. That should have been the pin for Dustin winning, and then the little bit of a hint. But we got another minimum of 2 to 3 minutes after that. You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. There was lots of opportunities for the strongest, highest point of the match with the finish to further a story for TV. And they went so far beyond that, and the people kind of deflated, and then the finish happened. So I think that Dustin would have got a lot bigger of a reaction and everything, a lot bigger of, oh, what's this between him and Sammy, if they had ended it then instead of extending that out and overbooking the finish.
That being said, though, I'm always pleased for Dustin Rhodes to be highlighted. He's 50, God, he must be in his late 50s now. And you've wrestled him numerous times. I think just this past week you said he was your favourite opponent on Stevie Night Heat, who, you know, just got it, threw himself into the whole role and enjoyed everything about it. It was just a pleasure to work with. I don't know if you worked Dustin much later or you only worked him around the Ruthless Aggression era, but how would you rate his work then? He was already a veteran then of, 17, 18 years compared to now in his late 50s in AEW working with all these guys half his age.
I would probably say just for the fact of Dustin's age, if you figure that in, and the way he can move, and he's always improving and always doing stuff. And he's at a point now where I'd have to say, man, in a way, he's probably the best worker in the entire business. To still be in shape, to still be doing what he's doing, to stay over, to reinvent himself after one of the strongest characters probably in wrestling history, Goldust, which could stereotype you and typecast you very, very easily. Dustin is just, and maybe a little bit of bias on my part, when I watch him, I'm just like, nobody moves with the crispness, the coordination, the fluidity, while making this stuff look more real than anybody in that four-way, or dare I say it, on most people on the show. Dustin has psychology. Dustin also is very physical. Dustin doesn't shy away from bumping for the younger guys and doing things. He's right up. He's better than he's ever been. Now, could he work a full schedule? My assumption is no, because he's probably trying to recover from this. And my critique of the finish is for the best for Dustin. You know what I mean? I wanted the best for him because I was hoping he would go over and be highlighted in this match, and I'm hoping for a long title run. But they did him a disservice because it's a very big moment. And what we got was so many moments on this pay-per-view that a lot of them can be forgettable. Dustin's moment should stand out really as something, like you talked about, the death of the Death Riders on this pay-per-view. That should have been the theme of the show in a way, to kind of get rid of this reign of terror, which people don't seem to want.
That Pac didn't turn up for. Why was Pac not there? Is he injured again, or has he got visa issues again? It's just Gabe Kidd was there instead.
There was so much to think about. I assumed he was on the show.
Nope.
But you're right. I see what I mean. This is where a 6-hour pay-per-view can really start to muddy all the waters of all the business you want to do. But don't get me wrong. Getting back to Dustin. I always want the best for Dustin. As you can tell, I have such a love and affection for him as a worker and as a person. I want him to stand out as much as possible. And I just feel like that was something that was really, really overbooked to a negative sense for the moment that you wanted with Dustin Rhodes.
He has had 17 matches in AEW or Ring of Honor this year. But the thing is, for the most part, they're on Ring of Honor. And no one watches Ring of Honor practically because there's only 20,000 sign-ups or whatever there is to Ring of Honor or Honor Club. Which I find such a shame because, you've got a living, breathing legend here. And dare I say, and you can tell me otherwise, I'd say Dustin's more of a legend than Jeff Jarrett, who's the same age, roughly, in his last year or so, roughly. And they're treating Dustin as someone on the B show with Sammy Guevara, and they're treating Jeff Jarrett to holding a microphone on the pre-show. It's like, why are you using these two dudes in just as... well, I mean, at least with Dustin, he's got, a decent title run, a singles title run now as well. But, I mean, they're not getting the most out of him.
Well, dare I say it, AEW never gets the most out of the talent they have, especially when they come from a WWE or other places or people that have a lot of experience. I will say this, they're acting like Dustin's not on a pitch count, that he doesn't have a limited amount of time. They're acting like he's got another 10, 20 years left in him. Yeah, those 17 matches all should have been on AEW talking about how he wants to win the TNT title by the end of the year, maybe, or by All In, or what. You can easily make this into a storyline. And with Jeff, yeah, this is my retirement year and this is what I'm doing. Well, where's the sense of urgency from creative to get Jeff Jarrett on something where he's working these are two guys that the young talent, they could put in storylines and really teach these kids how to carry a storyline and angle and how to properly book a match during those storylines and angles, especially with a climax of a title win. And this is where Dustin, I think, is really cooperative sometimes to a fault. He wants those other three guys to have input. Because I guarantee you, Dustin would have not overbooked that finish. But the guys all wanted to get something to shine during that. And of course, Dustin's going to say, yeah, of course, I'm not wrestling forever, so I want to make sure you guys get featured in a way. But it was to a slight detriment. And I might be splitting hairs, but I feel like these finishes all had the highest point, then something happened and they started to do this. And it became more and more apparent and more overbooked as the show went on.
And then with Samoa Joe, he had the one clean, super clean finish at this point with the Muscle Buster. And then they completely overshadowed that with the Death Riders doing their thing after the thing.
Oh, when Joe hooked Wheeler Yuta for that Muscle Buster, everybody got on their feet, which is great, which is amazing. And it should have been left with that.
Absolutely. Jeff Jarrett hasn't wrestled since January. I've got one more thing about Dustin. Because Dustin Rhodes, Dustin Runnels, Goldust, whatever you want to call him, when was his peak? Because you say, well, his peak is now if you factor in his age, but then you had the original Goldust run, and there's other... I mean, some of the natural Dustin Rhodes stuff was really good as well in WCW. I mean, there's obviously other stuff like, like Seven and Black Rain and stuff that can be pushed to the wayside. But when do you think Goldust, Dustin Runnels was at his peak as a worker?
I think it just goes like this. In a great sense, laterally, he's been moving. Now, creatively, he dips because people give him something that doesn't really speak to people, or he dips down, he goes on that roller coaster ride. Dustin's always been over to the point that he can control to get himself over. If creative doesn't give him more to go further, that's on creative. I can't say, man, I mean, you can talk about the initial Goldust run where he worked Razor Ramon and it was very controversial. You can talk about the Goldust Booker T run and how entertaining that was. You can talk about Dustin versus Cody in AEW. It was amazing. Way back. That's how long this guy's been working. And then what was the other one that he did? Good Lord. I mean, he's done a lot of good work with Sammy Guevara, but it's been on ROH, so nobody's seen it. That's harder. It's an easier question. I can't even answer that, dude. I mean, the toughest question is say, when has Dustin not shined? And I dare say he's always shined when he's able to really perform.
I was thinking Goldberg's around the same age, and we'll talk about the Goldberg match when we get to Saturday night's main event, but, he's old, he's broken down, he's self-admitting, that kind of thing. They've got the most out of Goldberg, WWE, and you can at least say that for them as compared to Dustin, who is the same age, working fantastically still. and isn't making as much of an impact as he could be doing, I guess.
Let me ask you this question, and everybody out there, please comment below. Why hasn't WWE tried to get Goldust back? Can you imagine Goldust
He
in
re-signed with
2020?
AEW recently, is what the answer
Well, I know
is.
that. I know that, but why would he? Unless it's just an obscene amount of money and the schedule's much more lax. But there I say, it's 17 matches, mostly on Ring of Honor. That's a disservice to, like you said, a living legend that you assume because he's in his 50s and working better than he did 10 years ago, that train's not going to run off the tracks eventually.
Next match, Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay with Prince Nana defeats the Young Bucks by pinfall in 25 minutes 50. Now, this match at the beginning also suffered from a bit of...
Yeah, you didn't count the entrances in that 25 minutes, did you?
I didn't. This is bell to bell, so we didn't have time for the other 3 hours where the Young Bucks sailed across the arena the entire way. With do you know what there isn't enough of is flute music in wrestling, I've decided.
Well, you haven't heard the new Mystico remix on iTunes. It just came out after the show.
Oh, the flute.
The extra flute.
Excellent.
The extra flute.
I've got a disease, there's one cure, more flute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on the match.
Just, we hurt people. We hurt people. We hurt people. My wife hears that in her nightmares now, that song. I want to say this. This is the fun fact. I love entrances. I'm jealous of pyro entrances. Will Ospreay got a great Assassin's Creed entrance with pyro, and that does make for special moments in these matches. I'm not taking away from that. I pulled out, and I sent you the video. I pulled out my Steam Deck, and I started playing NFL 2K5. During the entrances of Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, and especially the Young Bucks, I played a full game, a full football game on NFL 2K5 on my Steam Deck before the match even started.
Now, WWE has definitely been criticized for long entrances, but they're generally reserved for the main event, like, or an Undertaker or Roman Reigns or something like that. I mean, this is like in the middle of the show.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the show, and it's just, I get it. The wrestlers want the special entrance. They think the special entrance really does lend to the impact of the match or the gravitas. It's a WrestleMania type thing, right? This had a WrestleMania feel. Let's say it's a positive. All In had the WrestleMania stadium feel. Presentation, entrances, pyro, things like that. But at the same time, there comes a point, unless you reserve it for those matches. Like, it felt like every match had a very slow plotting entrance. Even the casino Gauntlet match. People weren't running the ring getting it. Some people did. Other people, I love the fact, by the way, you put on this big ring gear and your expensive robe and everything, you walk out 4 steps like Julia Hart and you just take it off and run the ring. Nobody gets to see it. So it's a kind of a waste of money. But yeah, I don't know why the entrances feel longer in AEW than they do sometimes with WWE, because Roman Reigns had a few entrances that were way longer than even The Undertaker's.
I think it's a production thing, because AEW has never had as good production as WWE. So I don't know if it's lighting tricks or if it's just the quality of the music. The music will have helped, because, I mean, that Young Bucks music with the flute thing, that just kept going.
Yeah, but there's 2 parts to that entrance, 2 parts. The boat, and then they walked throughout the crowd. My wife kept getting up, because she wanted us to just sit here and watch it so we could spend some time together. She kept getting up while I'm playing the full game and doing all that stuff, and just kept going. It's still going on. They're still in the boat. Oh my God, now they're walking around. When's this match going to start? And then I kept I think I kept texting you the time that literally the entrance was still going. I think the entrances were 15, 20 minutes long.
At least your wife doesn't walk in, look at the TV and go, who would watch this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and then walk out again. She did that about 4 times.
No, not this particular one, but wrestling in general sometimes. Like, what is this? And, but that just, to me, like with that, I look at that. If somebody said, Like if she walked in and said, well, your show's boring or something like us, I would say, okay, as a businessman, as a brand, I have to look at that and say, how can I capture a person that would never watch wrestling? That's kind of what WWE is doing with the Logan Paul stuff and other people, trying to draw people in that would never, ever watch wrestling, but at least let's get an eye on it for 2 minutes and see if it's something that'll catch them. Do you think that's missing from AEW in a way?
No, it's just, I think it's, I thought it was just women's wrestling that my wife really gets offended by. Of the very, very rare time she walks through on, and it's on the TV. But no, it's all wrestling. She was watching Goldberg afterwards and she just said the same thing. Who would watch this? And then we had to explain to her, well, it's interesting because we don't know if Goldberg's going to win, but it's interesting because of these things, da-da-da. And she looks at me, and then she's no time for
You probably
wrestling.
sound like the Charlie Brown teacher when you're trying to explain why it's a good thing.
Yeah.
This does a disservice to the wrestlers that, not before this match, but definitely after these matches, as the entrances add up and the show gets longer.
But you think Tony Khan was in the back, just like every single person who was about to go through the curtain, who's just going, make it longer.
Well, that goes back to our theory, or my theory initially, that were they trying to run over to cut into Saturday night's main event so nobody would be tempted? I mean, you paid for the pay-per-view, so you're going to be there till the end. But some people may be like, I want to check out what's going on over there and go back and forth.
The match itself, I think it also was hampered by the Adam Cole news and maybe a bit of a convoluted finish with the Dustin Rhodes TNT title win beforehand. But it took a while for the audience to get into it, I think.
They did get into it. I mean, one of the most impressive spots that my cardio can never keep up with was all those kicks and everything towards the end. Now, this is something here, too. That was amazing. That was when the fans were like, oh, and I get it's like just sensory overload of super kicks and finishes and different kicks. But this was definitely, and I won't say it was overbooked to a negative, because obviously there was a lot on they had stakes in this match. Bucks lose the EVP status, or Ospreay and Swerve do not get title shots for a year. That's cool. I can understand that. But man, it was really, really overbooked to the point where they were teasing dissension between Swerve and Will because he hit him with the elbow by mistake, and different things happened, and then tons and tons and tons of super kicks later. And then I was surprised because I thought the Bucks were going to go over, but they didn't. So at least there was an interesting finish that you want to see, Larry, what the Bucks are going to be like not being EVPs and what we're going to get. Now, does this mean Ospreay and Will are EVPs, or just they're taken out of the EVP role?
They're taken out of the EVP role, I think.
All right, so maybe the Bucks, like Kenny Omega, we talked about in the last episode in that clip we talked about with him on that interview, that he has so many responsibilities and it just takes so much time to be part of creative and part of the office. Do you think the Bucks just were like, we're done with all this and we just want to be workers? And this was the angle.
No, they get paid a lot of money and they barely wrestle. They might as well do something, to earn it. I think it's just to take them out of storyline. That's my guess, anyway. I'm sure they'll keep on there.
So you don't think they're legitimately going to step away from being EVPs?
No, because they barely wrestle. It's like, what would they do otherwise?
I know, but that's my question. Okay, they lost the match. They're not EVPs. So now they're just going to be part-time wrestlers and never show up?
I think they'll still be part-time wrestlers and just be EVPs still. That is what I'm figuring. I've got a question for you. At the beginning, Will Ospreay comes out with the Assassin's Creed thing, because we were talking about that off air. And then Jojo Offerman comes out and I was thinking, yes, Will Ospreay versus Jojo Offerman. Let's see how this one works out. I was really looking forward to that.
You thought that it was another Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal?
No, just a singles. That would have been brilliant. Be like Kenny Omega and this 8-year-old girl.
I mean, it's cool that they're giving, hopefully she has a job with AEW. Obviously, she lost her husband. It sucks. But I don't know if she's a part of AEW or they were just having her there to sing a song. And my wife saw it and goes, okay, that guy came out with ninjas. He's not a ninja, which you explain why, which I'm jealous of, like I said. But they're like, why is she singing the song? What's going on? And then Swerve came out to his music, and it was just You see what I mean? Like, what is going on here? Is she with Swerve? And she was like, well, she's not going down to the ring with the guy. Is she with the guy? And I go, you're asking the wrong person. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I was thinking.
And I would have said you said, oh, it's just going to be a mixed match. So female versus male, intergender title match.
Well, I was sort of thinking like the subtext of the song is "Ain't Nobody Does Me Better," and I was like, okay. I was like a slowed down version of it. Then Swerve came out, and Chris B-Side just went, "Oh, I get it now." I was like, "Get what?" I didn't understand the correlation. I like the song, isn't it? Shaka Khan.
I'm not sure.
Oh, come off! You like pop music? I thought you'd know that.
But here, I'm looking at it, going, This is where I think it's most exhausting. Is like. You have to bring out a notepad, or you have to ask ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT how long the pay-per-view was. It said too long. ChatGPT didn't even stick with it. But I was like looking at it, and it's just like, we're paid to review this stuff. I had not watched AEW in a while, but I did some reading. I was like, is she with the company? What's going on? Is she part of the
Apparently
angle?
not. I just Googled it. It doesn't say that she's with AEW. She's there, I guess.
Good for her. I'm just saying, like, what did this have to do? Now, if she sung, like, the national anthem in the beginning or whatever, obviously she sings, it would have made some sense. But do you see, like, how it's... I mean, I was waiting for "We Like to Hurt People. We like to hurt people. We like to hurt people."
Before, do you know what, right? Just because it's AEW, let's do out of 5. Let's do star ratings then. For this match onwards, or we can do for all of them, in fact. I'll tell you what, why don't we do it for all of them and then we'll continue in that. So the Ops, that's Samoa Joe, etc., the 6-man.
Now, is it 5, 6, 7, 10? What are we
We're
up
going
to
to keep
with
it. We're going to keep it easy and do 7 stars.
That's not easy for me.
All right.
I'm so old, I remember 5 stars was the top.
Oh, the good old days.
The opening 6-man tag, I would call it, because everything outside of that, I would take stars away for the post-match thing. It was the perfect 6-man warm-up type thing. The finish got the people excited. And then the no neck brace stretcher job, probably. But I still think it might have been a size issue. I think they just didn't have a neck brace big enough for Joe. Probably give it 3 stars. It would have been 4 if they didn't do the no neck brace stretcher job.
The men's casino gauntlet match.
I'd have to give it another 3. I have to take a couple off because the 3 stars are solely the beginning and the end. Because that's the angle. That's the storyline. If you eliminated a lot of the middle stuff, it would have been really good.
Dustin 4-way TNT Championship.
I'd give it 4. Take a star off because I really do believe they had the peak of the finish and they overbooked it just a little bit. But Dustin's my friend. Hopefully after critiquing the match, he's still my friend. But I love Dustin, and he's one of my favorites to watch.
Swerve and Will versus the Young Bucks.
You were talking about 7 stars? Oh, I'm going 5. Okay. So if you're talking about the 7-star, this is definitely, I would say, a 5-star match and a 7-star. 2 stars taken from it for the long entrances. I really wish they put a lot of time into the match, but they could have had a lot of time to breathe between other things. They oversold the levels of it. Like, they all laid out after all those super kicks and all that stuff. I get that. But there was a lot of super, like, 0 to hero, back to 0 stuff that I saw.
And this next match we're going to be talking about is the Women's Casino Gauntlet match for a future AEW Women's World Championship opportunity. If we're going to do the WWE vernacular. Athena wins by pinning Mina Shirakawa. This also went quite a long time, 27 minutes. Before you say what you thought of the match, can I just point out that, and I'm going to say Queen Amanada looked really good. Thekla and Willow, they were standouts for me in that match. Bunch of people came out that we had little to no idea who they were, and they were doing that thing you were saying before where they go, and we're supposed to, fill in the blanks in our head, I guess. But also, can I just say, Julia Hart did old school, walking the ropes and did the clothesline thing. And I nearly speared the TV out of just pure anger. It was the worst executed move I've ever seen where everything went right.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, she's walking she's walking a tightrope like I would if I had to do the old school, and I would just came down and that was the brother forearm. Brother got me, brother got me. Oh, I want to go back. Speaking of that, they did a double superplex, her and the Spider Girl, and then they were upside down, which was cool. That was sort of WWE-ish. Going back to the 4-way TNT title match, they were trying to do the Eddie Guerrero Three Amigos, but superplexes. Do you remember that?
He
was doing all 4 corners superplex. Superplex, hold on, spin, put him up in the next. Yeah.
Oh man. There was one where I think was it a German suplex? No, was it a suplex, a superplex in this match? And someone landed right on the tailbone in the middle of the ring.
You talking about the girls?
Yeah. Am I misremembering?
Well, yeah, because they did the double superplex, and the girls just did the upside down tree of woe in the corners. Yeah. So they weren't able to land flat with the girls they superplexed. So that's why they landed on the tailbone.
Got you. I was worried I was misremembering.
In other words, they didn't go out with the superplex. They just went back like this and then flipped upside down.
This is going to be a common complaint, but there was so much that happened on the show, and it was so long that I cannot remember if it happened. I watched it this morning, and I remember someone landing right on the tailbone off a suplex, and I couldn't remember what gender they were, let alone if it happened in this match. But yes, it was this one, I think.
Well, I mean, but this is the overarching theme. And for anybody that's looking at this going, well, my God, they're complaining about a 6-hour pay-per-view. People got their money. I get it. But the thing is, this kind of stuff, which is a WrestleMania type presentation, is supposed to make memories and moments, finish off business, the climax, the Death Riders hopefully, go away or whatever, and the beginning of new business, which they're touching on it, but in the whole scope of all this stuff, like James literally came on the Zoom call and we started recording the show almost immediately after watching this. So it should be fresh in your mind. And somehow I remember more than you do. That's not good. That's the talent has to make memories and moments that people remember for years, if not decades to come. This show is supposed to be, from a business standpoint, at least for business, for you to continue storylines, but also if you're signing at a convention, making an appearance, doing an interview, one of the first questions you'll be asked by a person with a picture or for the picture is, hey man, when you did that thing, that's the selling point that fans will want to become wrestlers based on these moments and memories. And you do yourself a disservice when you gloss over everything in a 6-hour show. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, what can I say? Yeah, it's 6 hours, man. And I was forwarding through some stuff best I could. And, trying to get all the important stuff in. And I was struggling. To remember stuff. I was struggling to pay attention to everything because when there's just so much, I was, up and full of beans this morning, ready to go. I'll tell you what, as soon as that 6 hours hit and I saw that on the, how long it was, like, oh, God, how am I going to get through? And then Saturday night's main event as well, which bounded through. It didn't feel like, an hour and a half or whatever it was. It just went, very quickly. Where was Jesse Ventura? Why wasn't he commentating?
My guess is after we laughed about the cage match finish.
I'll do it.
Or maybe there was something where they paid him off and he's gone. I don't know. Yeah, that's very...
He was at the beginning.
We didn't think you said he wouldn't be back after that. You had predicted that. He was not coming back.
If you say I did. No, he was at the beginning, wasn't he? I thought he was at the podium at the beginning running down the matches.
I believe so, but maybe they just can't take a chance on him commentating.
Probably not.
Hey, by the way, I forgot Jesse was there at the beginning. I'm just saying everything suffers. Everything, every moment suffers. For everybody that's trying to compete with each other, you're only cannibalizing your own memories and moments.
So the women's gauntlet, any more to say about that?
Willow Nightingale was the standout for me. The Spider Girl and then the Queen Girl. But Willow Nightingale, when I watched her work, as opposed to things we've done with the what went wrong stuff with her, Mira Shavir or Shakira.
Hips don't lie.
So, but she's shown dramatic and drastic improvement over the past year. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, WWE is going to sign this girl. If her deal comes up, or if Tony Khan decides to sit her at home healthy, she's going to go to NXT and WWE.
Who won? Oh, Athena. Star rating. Not 7.
I think the girls was better than the men's.
Yeah, kind of.
It was better. And that's funny, too, because people should be way more tired after everything they've already seen with 62 matches left to go. I think it was, I'd say this was 5 stars. But here's the other thing. What was the angle in the business? Athena, Ember Moon, she's mostly on ROH. She's the ROH Women's Champion, right?
You say so.
I think so. So are we going to look for title unification with this? Are we going to try to get rid of, like, here's a little trivia question for the comments. How many titles between ROH and AEW do we have?
WWE still got more.
That's...
You know, they've introduced WWE ID titles and the LFG titles probably, and you know the women's.
I was just gonna do the Star Wars where Darth Vader was telling Luke he's his father. I was like, that's impossible.
That's impossible. I like the way he goes. You know, he gets.
No, that was me. That was you when you saw the 6 hours.
Yeah. And then I voluntarily jumped down the chasm. The Hurt Syndicate versus...
Were you saying at the end of Empire Strikes Back, when you're watching the paper, you go, man, the Emperor was so lucky at the end.
Oh, bless that Emperor. Oh, my favourite bit, and I think it's from the prequels, where he's go, don't make me do it, whatever it is. Do it. And that's it. That's the line from the Emperor that's my favourite. Or I could give you the entire speech of, it's not the Sith. It's not a Sith legend, or whatever it is. No, it's not the Jedi.
Are we going for the AEW record for number of our show? See, people love our 3 hour. They feel like that was a treat. But what if we gave them a 6 hour show? What would they say?
I have promised to be done at a proper time. The Hurt Syndicate defeat Jet Speed and the Patriarchy, which is Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. And it's got some aftermatch shenanigans as well.
Yeah, there's a lot. This is the weird part about pay-per-views. So this might be an old school way of thinking, but the pay-per-views usually will lead to new business, but the major turns don't happen at this amount. Like, we have a lot of different angles there. Joe getting hurt, stretcher job, no neck brace, this happening, other stuff that plays into this. And usually you want to save that for the television afterwards. Like, if they lost, I would assume that they would all beat Christian down in the middle of the ring, and then Edge would come out and they'd be like, oh, Edge is back. I got to watch Dynamite, or I got to watch the shows. Or do you feel like they tried to shoehorn way too many storylines?
You know they did. It's 6 hours and everything had a storyline.
Just asking.
Multiple. Okay. Instead of the match itself, what do you think about Christian becoming a babyface again after all this time?
Oh, I don't know, man, because his best work has always been as a heel. He gets it. That's a promo class for everybody in wrestling, not just AEW. How Christian can naturally get heat. Christian's one of those people, kind of like I was throughout certain points of my career. You just look at a guy and you're like, I want to punch this dude in the face. That's Christian. So obviously with Edge, it's going to be a babyface rub. They're going to cheer Edge and Christian, but it's not really Edge and Christian. It's coping Christian. It's a very weird dynamic of trying to revisit them as a tag team. So I don't know. If I would have thought of anything, I would have thought more heat would have been that the mother and Christian turn on Nick Wayne. That his own mother turns on him. I think that would have been much more heat.
Oh, just before we go back on Christian, who was that Brian Pillman-looking guy?
I don't know. I thought it was Sim Bodie. I thought he was mad because of our match critique of him and Flash Gordon.
Oh, so he called Flash Gordon. Oh, no, Flash Gordon couldn't make it.
See, I didn't say Ron Waterman like the 18 times during the show.
That is a take-a-drink game. Yes. The amount of Ron Waterman references, which is wonderful. Right. I asked you this about Goldust, but what do you think about Christian? What do you think his peak was as a performer? Because dare I say, he's one of the few WWE guys who made an even better name for himself or had a better character in AEW.
he had his peak promo work, his peak character work is the AEW heel run with the Nick Wayne and the mom and everything with the patriarchy. His peak work, as far as in the ring and everything, was Christian Cage and TNA. Like peak babyface for him was there, and also in a way peak heel when they put him and Tomko back together in TNA.
You missed each other, didn't you? In TNA?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So, yeah, you'd left ECW, and then I think he went back to WWE in 2000, like early 2009.
He did. That was the Alberto Del Rio kick that got him the concussion that retired him initially on the second run when he went back.
What do you... Who called him the ugliest pretty boy?
Who did that?
I can't remember. Someone said. I don't know if some wrestler said that he was a pretty boy, but it was like the ugliest pretty boy out.
I don't know. It could be a Rock or somebody. Yeah. It could have been anybody. I don't know.
Okay, let's just tell.
Maybe that's where he got the term "the unprettier."
Oh, maybe. May well have been. Kane tells a story once to say just how annoying Christian was to be around in a good way. Is that once Christian walked up to him and said, "Have you eaten?" And Kane says, "Yes, I just had a burrito, whatever it was." And then Christian punches him in the stomach and then runs away.
Yeah, that would be Christian.
Any other stories?
I remember he was getting me one time early in my WWE career. He just kept talking and talking, saying whatever. He used to go around saying, "I'm effing rich. I'm effing rich. I'm so effing rich." He would do that. It was like he reminded me of James Romero at that time. But he was like, "You want to fight? You want to fight? Do that." And Christian used to wrap his thighs up to make his thighs look bigger in his tights. So I was like, "Why don't you just wrap your legs and come back?" And that was it. That was my one comeback, and I walked away. I raked the eyes, and then pretend to rake the eyes and run away. But yeah.
Do you... Because obviously it's going to be Christian and Edge, or Edge and Christian, or it's Cope and Christian, however you want to deal with it. How would you book this? Because Edge has been a babyface, I think, or Adam Copeland, excuse me, has been a babyface in AEW the entire time. Christian has been a heel the entire time, pretty much. He's got the polo neck wrestling thing, which is genius. It's one of the greatest outfits in wrestling history. How would you book this to actually draw some money, and who would you put them against? Apart from, obviously, Nick Wayne and, as best we can tell, Brian Pillman Jr., the clone.
Well, I think what that's going to be is going to be like a blood feud. It's going to be an initial angle to establish the tag team. They're going to run right through those kids and then probably fight FTR for the tag belts, and then they're going to have maybe a retirement run with the tag belts for both of them.
Where does the Hurt Business Syndicate come in?
I forgot who the tag champs were. Good point. They could wrestle them, but FTR seems to be the angle. So maybe FTR somehow win the tag belts, or they'll have those kids, then FTR, then the Hurt Syndicate. Who knows? Dude, who's going to take the belts off those guys? They look like monsters.
Well, in this match as well, I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, once again, the Hurt Syndicate look like monsters, and they get the clean win and see you later. And then there's sort of the after match stuff, which established two things. Nick Wayne gets rid of Christian Cage from the patriarchy, and that also the Hurt Syndicate are unbeatable. So now what do you do? They are the Legion of Doom.
They've got to bring in a WWE tag team to beat them. I guess that's all you can do. Here's the other thing.
Fraxian.
Because FTR, here's the other thing they need to stop doing on the pay-per-views. This felt like a big TV episode in a lot of ways. The Hurt Syndicate versus these guys, it really did seem like a TV match that got them over. Obviously, they tried to be giving, but it kind of exposed the business when you had the Mike Bailey and the Kevin Knight kid shining on a Bobby Lashley. He looked like he could beat both of them up. But then you have like MVP commentating on the MJF thing initially. Then you have, he was commentating during the Gauntlet Battle Royal, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Or the Gauntlet match? Mm-hmm. Then FTR's commentating during the tag. That's a TV type presentation with that.
Why wasn't FTR on the show? Because
they were commentating the three-way tag match.
But why were they not wrestling? I mean, they're healthy. Why wouldn't they be? I mean, this is a three-way. You might as well just make it four-way.
In honor of Keith Lee.
Yeah.
Healthy wrestlers who don't wrestle.
He's Dennis Stamp, Keith Lee.
Yep.
He's probably on his trampoline doing his weights, waiting for Tony Khan to call.
By the way, I have a cold open planned where we're going to get a rebounder, and I'm going to do the reinvent the stamp opening.
Excellent. Are you going to do heavier weights than what Dennis Stamp was doing?
Oh, God, no, not at my age.
No, fair enough then. Right. How many stars?
For this tag match,
Yeah.
I would give it another 5 out of 7.
Oh, so you very much liked it.
I'm fans of Bobby and Shelton. I want them to do very well, but they are in dangerous territory, like you said, Legion of Doom. Where who are you going to put up against them? What are you going to do? I mean, it's so painfully obvious. Like Christian in the ring with him, hung with them, but Nick Wayne and the other kids, you could just see the difference, not just in size but experience. Like I talk about, like I could tell by looking at people in the ring, who knows what they're doing, the fluidity, the coordination, the crispness of move, the in-between confidence that you're putting between it. And it was just so glaringly apparent in a lot of these matches.
Okay, next up, Timeless Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné. This match was the first of at least 2 in a row where they slowed it down considerably and it was a lot easier to follow.
Yeah, one of the best matches on the card. It really was. And you're talking about characters, and obviously Toni Storm, without a doubt, has reinvented herself. I would say on a par with Dustin. To take what they did in WWE or didn't do in WWE and the send-off they gave her, kind of an embarrassing type thing right there, and then coming into AEW, not really finding her footing. And then for some reason, maybe it was based on that media scrum where she looked just kind of little tired or out of it or whatever. And it seemed like she just birthed the character not long after that. And all of a sudden, like this is where if you allow sometimes something to happen and a character to develop within somebody's personality and or situation, you have money. What I feel like is this Toni Storm, what she always wanted to do, and maybe she has an affinity for the old black and white movies or something. There has to be some sort of knowledge or education or love or passion for this, for the old school type of thing. And I can't think that Tony Khan or anybody else thought of this. I have to think that this girl or anybody around her all kind of workshopped it and came up with this and just started doing it. And then they just ran with it. If they just replicated what they did with Toni Storm with every talent on AEW, we would have a full show of entertainment, action, and all that stuff. She's the poster child for somebody who's truly reinvented and somehow gotten herself 100 times more over than she ever was in WWE or NXT.
She was someone who came up with that character, and then within weeks she was on all the posters. So you know that she was doing something right.
Yeah, but usually in wrestling, this is where creative and the promotion and the company need to get out of their own way and not play God and just say, it's a great idea, it's making us money, let them run with it. So I always feel like there's this fear to empower the talent to a certain degree, because then they can become monsters too. But in this case, it's really, she's fun to watch, man. She's cool just by going black and white with the presentation and what she does with the old school silent film type of look and everything. And then, dare I say it, she's the one that got Mercedes Moné over to this point where people are finally kind of getting it with her.
We'll talk about the ending in a minute. Why don't we talk about it now, then we'll go backwards, I guess. I was very surprised Toni won. I was sure Moné was going to, because she's doing the belt collector thing at the moment, and I thought this was going to be the start of a longer-term feud, but I was quite surprised that Toni the babyface won. Well, and now where does each go?
Well, I keep wanting to say Sasha Banks, or Sasha Bank, as the NFL commentators called her one time when they were promoting SmackDown. She has how many belts? They can do whatever. Or is she going away for a while? She's defending the belts in other places. Her going away and then Toni Storm being there, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, because they had great chemistry in the ring. The match was really good. Like you said, they worked. You had 2 former WWE workers too. They have an idea. Maybe they looked at the show and said, you know what this is missing? People actually being able to digest what's going on. Maybe we should slow it down a little bit. This was very much a WWE style match. And that's a good thing in my mind.
They would have never got 24 minutes and 10 seconds in WWE, though.
They deserve to have 24 minutes and 10 seconds in WWE, though. They proved that last night. So I would say that this is something, and maybe there was a point to prove with this match, and even with the female gauntlet, to prove that our female wrestlers are better than what you're going to put on tomorrow. They were a little
today, as we record this, yeah.
Yeah, they were literally proving something, and that's what it felt like. I felt like the girls in those two matches had a lot more to prove with the way they worked. Now, not everybody's shown through, but the Toni and Mercedes Moné definitely one of the best matches on the card.
Do you think Moné's got something to prove as well? Because she came in with a lot of fanfare a year ago or longer. I can't remember how long it's been. And it took a long time for her to find her footing because the promos weren't landing. The character was very, very WWE and sort of stuck out in maybe a negative way. And it took a long time for, I guess, the AEW fans to sort of warm to her enough that she felt like she belonged, I guess. And now, where's Moné a year or 18 months, whatever it's been, since she debuted, in your opinion?
Well, Toni Storm made her last night. She might have lost the match. She might have put her over. But the character work of Toni Storm got her over because we had a storyline. We had something to go off of. Now, she's getting more comfortable with some of her taglines and other stuff. They don't seem so like you're reading the page break script type stuff, new paragraph pauses and things like that.
We hurt people. We hurt people.
CEO. See, and now the people who are singing need a little bit more charisma on the side. They're sounding like CEO. I got a gun to my head. I need to say CEO over and over. That's what it feels like. But once again, I mean, it takes a while to have the fans invest in you. It takes a while for you to get your footing, and it takes the right dance partner to make you as well, no matter what the result of the match. That's what I hope they wrestle again. I hope this is kind of the beginning of something with them, because I can't see anybody else on the roster keeping Mercedes Moné's character at the level where she's kind of like that heel right now.
Well, we've got Athena, who's just won the women's gauntlet, which I don't see her on that level to be world champion. You've got Mercedes Moné, who's already lost, so I don't know if that program's going to continue. Who else is there, really?
Well, you got the big girl, Megan Bain, but man, she got exposed for her inexperience in that chair thing, and we went over with Thunder Rosa.
Yeah. I was thinking of something. Maybe she should be Megan McBain, and then just quote McBain from The Simpsons all the time.
Oh, yeah, the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
From here, they appear to be tied, but I'll look over a closer look. On closer inspection, these are loafers. If she can nail that accent, I think we've got a real character.
That's true. I'm trying to think. Willow Nightingale can be one, but she's a babyface too. It's very difficult to see. Now, here's the thing too. I don't know if it's a Money in the Bank type thing. Is it with the winning the gauntlet match? Athena. You can cash it in.
You mean you can run in at any time thing?
So you can do that.
I've no idea. I know it's a 12-month thing or something like that. It's very similar. Give us 7 stars out of this.
Yeah, I give it 7.
Best match of the night?
Whew. From a wrestling perspective, from a storytelling perspective, from not being overbooked, yes. So far, I would say it's the best match of the night.
Okada versus Kenny Omega. This is the semi-main event. Right, dare I say, I know you didn't ask my opinion, this match highlighted to me more than anything else that this match could have definitely been done in 18 minutes. And it was a really good match. It just, everything was so dragged out. And it seemed like almost like artificially so, or do you think I'm being overly critical?
Yeah, I don't know if you would artificially lengthen the match at this point, unless, like you said, Tony Khan, Saturday night's main event, starting or started or whatever. Let's keep going. I didn't feel like it dragged on as much as other things would drag on in between. I will say this. For people that criticized Okada for being super lazy and super slow, he picked it up a bit in this match, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This was definitely mirrored a lot of the New Japan matches they had. Now, I was worried about Kenny because he has diverticulitis, but I'm worried about his right shoulder trap and neck and head area because he landed on that part a million times. I would give this probably, I would take maybe a star off because like you said, I feel like it could have been a very impactful 18 to 20 minute match, but they did extend it a little bit, so I would give it 6. This is almost a tie for the best match with the girls match. So in other words, what we're looking at here is this home stretch of triple main event with the three last matches was done in disservice because all the other matches were dragged out to infinity. That's why I feel like the fans were reacting to these 3 matches. We'll get to the last one. But can you imagine? They would have probably been on their feet the entire time for all 3 matches. But they were this speaks to how good the last 3 matches were, but it also speaks to you really need to learn the psychology of an entire wrestling show to know that, like, they would have been brought on. Man, there would have been such a, like, how can I put it? Okay, it felt like we got dessert up until the main courses of the 3 matches that finished, instead of literally the appetizers and then maybe some dinner courses, and then we get dinner and dessert at the same time for the last 3. And it's sensory overload, but I'm able to digest their storyline. There's run-ins and interference. There's a returning Bryan Danielson. Like, oh my God. But we had too much of that in the beginning to where it felt flatlined in a way. Not bad. I'm splitting hairs in a way, but can you imagine how much more of the people would have reacted if you built to these 3 matches? My God.
I said to Chris while we were watching this, there were definite points where the audience was absolutely quiet in this match, and I don't blame them. I blame the length of the show. Once again, we keep harping on about it. And Chris said, do you think they're sort of just reacting more like a Japanese audience, that will just appreciate it, clap and woo and everything for the big stuff, and then, sit there intently? And I said, no, I think they're just tired, man. It's just too, because it was a pretty slow match, at least, the first 2/3 of it were, and then they kicked it up into a higher gear toward the end. But it's like, man, they were just exhausted. Now, they did pick up more in the main event because that had all the bells and whistles and hardcore stuff that actually for this show, they didn't have in the rest of the matches for once.
Thank God.
So they kept all the hardcore stuff till the end, which is, booking 101, I guess, to put a card out. But that being said, what are the things you liked? What are the things you maybe didn't like? And how would you compare them to the New Japan series that they had?
Well, there's not a whole lot that I didn't like outside of the fact, like you said, they could have really had a more impactful match in under 20 minutes. How it compares to the New Japan match is a lot closer than a lot of people would have guessed. Like you said, the critique or criticism about Okada, and then Kenny's recent interview about he's not 100%. He's fighting all these health issues. People went in, I think, with maybe, in a good way, lower expectations for this match. Maybe that's why people enjoyed it even more, because it exceeded what the American version would have been compared to the New Japan version. I would say that it was like right in line, because this is part of the series of matches they've had. I didn't feel like this was an older, slower version of the match, like a Reunion Legends match. No. And I dare say it, like, I got more out of watching them in this match than even some of the New Japan matches because of the gears. The gears, of course they started off slow because they knew they would have reversal, Rainmaker, this and that, teasing one minute. They teased their finishes and didn't prostitute them too much in a way because they kept going to try to win the match. And that's really what I think made it stand out from the earlier matches. These 2 guys were trying to win the match. Right then and there, I have a solid footing of what I'm watching. So I wouldn't say the only thing that I would say would be a negative would be the extended length that they could do it. And I think in 2020 hindsight, they could be like, yeah, I probably sold a little too much here. We were down a little, we dragged, we waited. But that's every match for every wrestler.
Some of the matches in New Japan they had, weren't they like an hour plus?
Yeah, I think the minimum, there was like one that was like considered to be short at like 47 minutes or something.
So how were those matches maybe not dragging as much as this one that was 30 minutes 30?
Well, I think at the time they hadn't wrestled all that much, and this was part of 3 matches over in New Japan, correct? 3 or 4 that they went. That's how the 7-star was born, right? 6 and then 7. I think it was just a Japanese crowd too, and you knew what to expect in that building, in that show. And also other matches didn't go 30, 40, 50 minutes before them. I think the other matches had a good variety of stuff that didn't go to that length. And
it's like the WrestleMania 12 thing. You've got a bunch of short matches under then you have the big long one at the end. So
you were conditioned to go. You were conditioned to know that this was going to be a lengthy New Japan style match. That's what I feel like. Now I don't know in this day and age, after I've seen them wrestle so much, I can go back and watch that hour match with the same kind of, man, did you see these guys working? I think it was much more fresh there. But this was definitely up there with the other matches they did in Japan.
Do you think Okada's maybe silenced some of the doubters because when he signed AEW, it's for, million plus every single year? I mean, I think some places in Japan were announcing it was $3 to $4 million per year deal, which is ridiculously high. And I think most people don't think it was that much, but to make him seem like a bigger star, natively, I guess. He came in, he was doing basically nothing out of second gear for 2 years, pretty much, and then basically developing a catchphrase and a character, which is very, very popular. Do you think this match has silenced some of the doubters as far as, hey, I can still kick it up when I need to, and I'll only do it for the big shows because I'm a heel and that's how it should be?
Yeah, I think so. I think Okada really is thinking like a worker. I'm making a lot of money. I want to make it count. I developed something where people react. Sorry, bitches. I mean, it's the simplest thing ever, but it's so out of character for the Okada character from before. And just when you think, oh, I know he's not what he used to be, here he is on the biggest show when he should really show out. And against the guy, he has the best chemistry I've ever seen anybody wrestle against Kenny on both sides. Both of them have amazing chemistry. And then Kenny. I think Kenny silenced the doubters, including the doubter within himself. Can I still go at this level? Can I still do this thing? And man, he didn't look like he was suffering from any health issues in this match. And here's the thing where Okada gets it, and the fans got it, and every worker needs to look at this. Forearm, 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 no sell, stomach shot, fans booed. And for people that said, that's not the part that drug out. We're talking about the in-between stuff. That was done to perfection. And those parts of Okada working the diverticulitis, brother, that makes me want to put it right back up there with being a tie with the girls for 7 stars. Because it was so much nuance. That's a moment that I remember.
We watched on the Patreon the Outrunners and FTR. And just little things like, which you just rarely see in 2025, is somebody selling an injury throughout the match, and one of the Outrunners was selling his leg for quite a lot of the match, and it was just refreshing to see somebody actually do that and remember to do that. Whereas Kenny Omega, once again, was doing that throughout the match and told a really great story, like that anyone could follow. And he never forgot that his stomach was hurting, and it's I guess it's an incredibly easy story to tell because his stomach really is hurting all the time, so it's constantly there as a reminder. But that being said, do you think maybe Kenny... I think, Jim Cornette's like probably the biggest hater of Kenny Omega or, criticizer of Kenny Omega there is publicly, I guess. Does Kenny not get enough appreciation for his selling and especially long-term selling throughout a match for this kind of thing?
Yeah, there was a lot of people on the Kenny Omega clip that we have up there recently on a recent episode where they were very polarizing, but a lot of people are saying we have no clue what we're talking about because he stinks, he doesn't know how to work, he has no psychology, he doesn't know anything. And I would dare say that this match proved that wrong. He does know how to work, he does get it. Because you know what you come out of that match feeling about Kenny Omega? You care about him. Title doesn't mean anything. Losing the title doesn't mean anything. You care about him because as a babyface, he did the Tommy Dreamer. The odds were stacked against him. He was injured. He reminded you about the injury. Okada reminded you about the injury. And he fought through something that people can identify with. And he sold the entire time. And now you're wondering, how's Kenny feeling? What's he doing? Is he still going to wrestle? That's the interest that you need and the sympathy you need with a babyface. And Kenny can work. Kenny understands psychology. But what Kenny did, you know what he did? He saw the market, and it might have come to a point where it was too much as far as working action-based and things like that. But he saw the opening for a different style that made him, the Young Bucks, and other people with that kind of style stand out and make millions of dollars a year, by the way, doing it.
One more thing to mention about this is he going to sell his stomach in every single match going forward now? Because I can imagine that getting quite tiresome and also maybe even costing him fans, because then you already know how the match is going to go before you see it in the ring. The heel will go to his midsection, and it can get a bit redundant.
It all depends on when he wrestles again. If he takes time off, and he takes time off and says, I'm healed, and hopefully in real life he is really healed, or he's it's behind him and he can deal with it, then you move on from it. Or you talked about him selling his leg, right? That could also be a place to stay away from the stomach and go to the leg, and then he can fight back from that injury and make people kind of forget about the diverticulitis for a little bit.
So this match was to unify the AEW Continental Championship and the AEW International Championship, making Okada, who won clean, the new AEW Incontinent Champion. So well done to Okada. And the main event of AEW, he didn't even get a rise out of that, man. It was just the unified title.
I didn't get a rise out of it?
No, yeah, I thought I'd get a rise out of it for the AEW Incontinent Champion.
No,
it's international and continental.
I let that joke just ride. Yeah, incontinent.
Lord,
Kenny was almost the incontinent champion with the colostomy bag. I get it.
Could have been.
I get it.
Maybe it's the uncrowned. I don't know.
Listen, you don't sell for some of my dad jokes, so I'm just trying to get back. So receipt, brother.
I thought that was a classy one.
Oh, I got you, brother.
I thought it was a classy one. Oh, call my wife and kids. Number 12 of 12 matches in 8 hours. Hangman Adam Page defeated John Moxley, who was the champion, with Marina Shafir and everybody else, because it was a Texas death match, which I was a little unclear of the rules, because I was like, why is the referee counting both? I had to forward through the beginning bit. I had to rush through. So it was standing 10 count, but also submissions were legal. Were you slightly, or did you know the rules going in? Because I was a bit confused.
Well, Jeff Jarrett had the big cardboard thing from Hobby Lobby that had the rules on the pre-show. But by the time the match came, I forgot about it because that was a 2-hour pre-show catch. I know we're beating it, but, God, man, it's crazy. Yeah, and that was a weird thing with the submission thing, with the Texas death thing, because that's usually last man standing. So it was very, very weird. I will say this. There's lots of times where you hear a death match and you think, this is strictly hyperbole. It's just for advertisement. This kind of lived up to the Texas death match advertisement. These guys, they look like they were trying to kill each other. And literally, there's moments in this that were just, oh my God, moments like I can't get that out of my head. Mainly triangle choke, real spike to the head, cutting them open. Crazy. I mean, I would say that they went for it, brother. And they went for it, and they got it. The barbed wire didn't even look like that was gimmicked at all.
What do you think nothing looked impossibly dangerous. Not like, the barbed wire 2x4 on Dynamite with Edge a few months ago. Adam Copeland a few months ago. But what do you think was the most dangerous thing, or the thing that it would take you the most money to convince you to do?
Everything. You'd have to, and that's why my wife's looking at me going, you would do this for how much money? Like, I had the wheels turning. Like, I would, that's this much, that's this much. Hey, hopefully these guys got bonused. This is definitely a match where you need to get bonused because you're going to the hospital. I don't know. They tried to work it. They did a really good job of like dragging along the glass, little things that were just, even the spikes were so tightly together. By the way, they're still spikes. So they're bumping on the spikes. Even on the DDT, he took care of them and made it look like it was head, but his hand hit the corner of the spikes. I would say the thing that I would be like, it just doesn't make any sense, is those really awkward bumps onto the chair that's unfolded on the mat. They took some rough bumps on that chair. Did you see that? Like the power bomb and the other thing. There's just, that's the stuff that's going to like really herniate discs and cause really bad concussions.
I'll tell you what, though, this match was the longest of the night. Didn't feel like that at all.
It didn't.
Especially when you're 8 hours in.
It did not. This match, and the people they got the people to stay alive in those last 3 matches. That's a testament to the last 3 matches and how good they were. So if you're talking about Texas death match, excuse me, can't even pronounce it, much less do it at my age, brother. I mean, Hogan would have been got on every spot on there. Got me, brother. Mm-hmm. But this is a 7-star Texas death match. This is one of the most violent, like, you lived up to the advertisement. The Moxley promo with his wife in the car and talking about this has to end. This has to be. This was, even if I didn't follow the storyline, which I didn't, the package before the match brought me up to speed. And then everything in the match said, these guys hate each other and they're trying to kill each other. That's all I needed. And being, to me, too, the guilty pleasure. You love the murder hour. This is a murder hour match on both sides. This here would have been like JBL and the guys watching Tanaka and Mike Awesome kill each other and you're just clapping. You know what I mean? It's a guilty pleasure match.
Well, as a guilty pleasure match, you actually enjoyed it, though.
I did enjoy it. You know, it at least had some psychology attached to the ultra violence. Now, also the pacing, like, it's so weird that you can pace a match like this that supposedly you're throwing weapons in and you have everybody in the world interfering in the match. This is about an ECW type match as you can get. But somehow the cadence, the pace, the ramp up of everything, the crowd reacting and how it kind of built up to the finish, and even the choke out with the chain and the fact that Swerve gave the chain to Page. I'm just like, we're tying Page and Swerve. Bryan Danielson coming in, these other people coming in. Dude, I can't believe if I saw, I got to put it into words. See, I had the most amount of doubt that this match would be anything but a garbage match, but a CZW match. And it completely took me off guard. And I thoroughly enjoyed not only the spots, the pacing, the gears, but all the loose ends that tied up storyline-wise in this match. And they left the people go home happy with Page winning the belt.
Do you know how many matches they've set up? So now, obviously, if you don't know, Jon Moxley lost. He was choked out, or not choked out, he tapped out with a chain, yeah, which is very, very important distinction, in fact. Bryan Danielson turns up. He stops Wheeler Yuta from using the plastic bag. That's a callback from last year. Of course, he's not coming back to wrestle, but it's nice that he eventually got, or was instrumental in turning the tide. Then, I've just lost his name. Everest, the skinny guy. I've just lost his name.
The skinny guy?
The unbelievably skinny guy. He does the trust fall. He was winched from the ceiling.
Oh, Darby
down.
Allin. Darby Allin.
Thank you.
Yeah, he came back from Mount Everest and they did the little detail of him coming down.
He did the sting.
No, but like he was coming down from Mount Everest. Like the same gear and the hooks. I mean, dude, I'm gonna do a hot take right now. A hot rating take. This here, as far as you had the Texas Death Match, the weapons and everything, obviously that's dressing on top of the salad. This was an 8-star Texas Death Match. 8 stars, Meltzer.
8 stars.
Because
Darby can
go ahead.
Go on. I was just gonna say Darby can go with Jon Moxley. I promise I'm not making you up. I said at the beginning of the match, Swerve will come out and he will cost Jon Moxley the title. I did guess it right. I was really pleased. But now you've got Adam Page and Swerve Strickland against the Young Bucks, who interfered. So there you go. You've got your next pay-per-view already sorted. This was really, really good booking, and it's something you just don't see from AEW that much.
I cannot. I watched it. And I'm not. Like you said, I can't believe it either, because this should have been a match that had the least amount of storyline, least amount of psychology, least amount of ending and building new business in the same match, and it did everything. This match had everything for everybody. And they sold their asses off. You could have just very easily gone from this to this and played Superman. They sold, and maybe that's why the gears, the pacing, and everything was absolutely perfect. And people are going to be like, you criticize AEW for the Ultra or whatever. We've done the what went wrong with the spike bat and Moxley's back and all this stuff. But they encapsulated it all into a storyline that made me understand and be able to follow it. And also, like you just said, now you and I are fantasy booking like, oh, this can go here, here, and there. That's what we wanted. Why can't you do that each and every match, each and every week?
Did you wince at the nail suplex thing? Because as soon as they pulled... Right, okay, something else that I'm not sure many people realise or noticed is when they lifted the apron of the ring to get a table out. Right next to the table was the bed of spikes, and it was like on vision for all to see for like 30 seconds, but no one in the crowd seemed to notice it. So I don't know if that image was on the big screen. Then they put the apron down. Then 10 minutes later, they bring the bed of spikes out. It gets the big reaction and everything. So I like to know that, this match can't end until at least the bed of spikes has come out, which I thought was funny. So, Pavlov's Gunther.
Yeah, but it didn't ruin it for you either. You're like, oh, that's all the bed of spikes. It's all over. We had and mind you, when we were watching it, you and I separately, we were so tired. When's this going to end? It's gone on forever. And then those 3 matches kind of pulled us out of it a little bit. That's why I'm saying, imagine if you booked the rest of the card properly, how much more you would have been. The fans literally probably would have been on their feet for almost the entire last 3 matches.
Would it be fair to say, shave off 5 minutes or 10 minutes from Okada Omega, get rid of the Women's Casino Gauntlet match because we'd already seen one, get rid of... Would it be controversial to say get rid of Swerve and Will Ospreay and the Young Bucks?
No, I would say get rid of the other Gauntlet match. And have MJF wrestle Mark Briscoe and involve Mystico in that.
That would have been better. And probably the 4-way with Dustin Rhodes as well, because it was following really sad news. And it just killed it. And also the Adam Cole thing. Because if the 4-way wasn't there, you wouldn't need Adam Cole coming out, and then you could actually have Adam Cole and...
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think Adam Cole should have announced that at the end of 0 Hour. Or sometime during the kickoff show.
I would have saved it for Dynamite. Maybe even the main event. Do you remember when Daniel Bryan, well, it was Daniel Bryan at the time, retired on Raw? That was the main event of that show.
Yeah. But Adam Cole's promo, I think we're going to talk about that. Adam Cole's promo was very strange, where he said, if I'm never coming back, possibly.
Why don't we talk about it now,
Okay.
in fact? So, I'll give you the full quote. So, Adam Cole injured on AEW Collision this past Thursday. While I'm reading this, you get the video up as well, because I've sent you the video of what happened. Supposedly, Adam Cole got injured on Collision with a lariat from Kyle Fletcher. Now, Kyle Fletcher was also the one to give him a powerbomb that just missed or grazed the ring apron a few weeks ago that we watched, if you remember, for a previous segment of what went wrong. Now, he comes out. In fact, I'm going to read this right up from wherever it was. AEW TNT champion Adam Cole had to give away his title ahead of his title defense against Kyle Fletcher due to injury concerns. In an emotional address to fans, the 36-year-old hinted at potential retirement. I'm going to try and find the quote here exactly for you. But this article said that he held the title for 97 days, 3 defenses, goodness me, since April, and very specifically, he cited ongoing health issues. And then said he's not in a headspace to talk about retirement just yet. But he was in tears at this point, as he was saying it, and I was absolutely sure that the rest of Paragon were going to attack him. I was like, go on, kill him. And then they didn't, and I was like, oh, goodness me, it really was a really serious situation. So he's potentially looking at retirement. But this is the move from AEW Collision this past Thursday. A lariat from Kyle Fletcher that has put Adam Cole once again back on the shelf. So over to you, Stevie. What went wrong?
Well, thank you very much, James. And I have to say, I like Adam Cole. He's always been a decent guy, always been cool. I liked our match we had in ROH. I wish we could have did more work together back then. But yeah, he seems like there's been that critique about his physique and his weight loss and everything. And when he's talking about ongoing health issues, that's what immediately kind of perks up in my mind. What do you think about that? Because I really do worry that there's been something outside of just the injury bug that Adam's been dealing with.
I think because I'm 5'8", I'm like 175 at the moment, and Adam Cole's roughly, I guess, the same height, if not a bit shorter. And I don't think he's ever been bigger than 160. And at the moment, he looks like he's 140. He looks emaciated at this point, and I'm wondering, a health issue something to do with the fact that he's struggling to keep on weight? Is some of the issues concussion related? Because he's just, I mean, you know how that goes. I know how that goes. The more concussions you get, the easier it is to get more of them. Yeah. It's this ever perpetuating cycle where you just can be just dinged in the head, and with something very light, and it can really, really affect you. So it could be. It's not our place to speculate, but we're speculating. What do you think? I'm
only speculating based on experience, too. And you talked about your experience that you can't even spar or anything anymore because any little impact on your upper body or whatever, even if it's not getting punched, you could literally feel like you got a concussion again. I don't know if that's what it is. When I wrestled him in ROH, was in Duluth, Georgia, I believe. When I wrestled him in ROH, he didn't seem smaller than me. He was not a small guy then. As far as weight or even height. So I think this thing is ever since like he was in NXT, that's when he started to really get smaller and lean out. So I'm not sure if he's fighting health issues dated all the way back to before AEW, but let's just focus on this right now and this injury. I haven't seen this yet. Let's see what we have.
It's not that big of a deal, or it looks like, unless it's just a high clothesline and it jars his neck.
See, this is the thing, like I'm saying, like, a lot of people, WWE, AEW, TNA, when you take a clothesline, everybody thinks you need to do this and kind of like do the Billy Gunn bump or the half Billy Gunn where you do a little whirly twirl. And that's like the Kenny Omega match. He was getting clothesline and landed on the same exact shoulder that Adams landed on and his neck.
What does it do to you when you're landing on one shoulder like that rather than a flat back bump? Is it always uncomfortable, or can some people more comfortably take a bump like that?
The thing I think of right here is the way he lands, kind of sideways and kind of twisty, neck impingement, which leads to like your arm going numb. He also could have popped his shoulder out. You could tear your rotator cuff. You can do a lot of different things. Bumping like this instead of flat right there on your back. The clothesline doesn't look any more devastating doing it like this. Do you think Adam tried to do a whirly twirl and it just didn't happen?
There's a couple of frames there where the clothesline is connecting. Do you think his head's snapping back a bit more violently? You see what I mean?
So do you think he might have hit that shoulder trap and side of it? Like he landed, he didn't tuck his chin, or he couldn't. Is that what you're kind of saying? Maybe... Well,
yeah, I'm wondering maybe if the clothesline was a bit hard, and if you just go back to where the connection happens, his head seems to, in one frame, go from there to completely disappeared. So maybe he did one more.
Here's another thing. No, I'm staying here.
I'm sorry.
Because he's literally, obviously, clotheslining him right in the neck and here, and Adam's head is going sideways. You see what I mean? Like Adam's trying to do that twirl around. I'm going to go slow-mo. He's making it look like it's more devastating. So you're thinking the impact of the clothesline right here sort of jolted him in a way, and then it was a two-step injury. This here, and then, of course, he's kind of out in midair a little bit, and then lands on that shoulder and impinges the neck and shoulder area once again, and maybe even hits part of his head as he's sideways. It's a really ugly bump. It looks It looks devastating,
sorry.
but go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that we discussed, and it's Kyle Fletcher once again, with the powerbomb into the ring apron, and I mentioned on that video that Adam Cole has a history with severe concussions. He had a concussion, and it left him out of the ring for 9 months?
Yeah.
And that is a serious, serious concussion. And straight after that, he shatters his ankle jumping off the rampway that time, and that kept him out of ring for a year. If this is indeed what it was, if it's a lariat, it would lead me to suspect that this is a concussion again, which I guess AEW would never admit to because they don't like it. Same with WWE, they don't like saying the word concussion, and AEW especially won't give much information, if any at all, on injuries that wrestlers are suffering. That could definitely
be the major part where he said ongoing health issues, post concussion syndrome. I just want to show you this. This is how ugly a bump this is. Do you see as I zoom in? He's bumping with his legs over in this direction. His back's kind of twisted, and then he might have tucked in time here, but his shoulder is taking the brunt of it. But like you said, it could literally have been Kyle Fletcher. But Kyle Fletcher, look at this. Once he hits it, he stops. See what I mean? He didn't take his head off and sweep across like a clothesline from hell type thing. But then again, Bradshaw, this is all clothesline. Usually if you do Bradshaw's clothesline, if he hits you the right way, it's a big shoulder block with the right shoulder, and then he kind of falls through. This is no shoulders. Look at this. It's all Stan Hansen lariat. It's not a clothesline, it's a lariat. But you're right. And dude, it's not a swing straight through and Adam Cole bumps underneath. It's a hook, almost like a right hook clothesline, catching him right in the carotid artery and under the chin. And sometimes you'll get a concussion just from taking a punch where it makes your head go sideways. And that's what Adam Cole's head's doing. See what I mean? So I'm with you as we're watching this. His shoulder could have still been injured. But when they say he's not cleared to wrestle, I'm leaning where you're leaning. Not cleared to wrestle, not sure if he's going to retire, ongoing health issues. This, to my guess, this is a concussion thing. I'm with you.
Yeah. Please don't take that as news, anybody. We don't know any more than anybody else out there. This is just pure speculation, of course. So nobody go and report anything thinking, that we're saying definitely a concussion, he's retiring because of it.
But here's the thing. When there's no timeline and you don't have your arm in a sling, and I'm guessing right shoulder, and you're being very vague because there is a gray area with concussions. You don't know how long it's going to fester on.
Yeah, and promotions don't want to admit concussions happen.
Liability, because of liability and whatever's going on. We're speculating, but when it's so hey, my shoulder's out, I need shoulder surgery, a rotator cuff injury, that this might retire me. My educated speculation based on my own experience. Yeah, and when the company's not coming out with an official injury, that's all I can think. All I wanted to do, this is a good, decent guy. The business needs good, decent people. We're at a shortage. We've always been in a shortage. Adam Cole is one of those people, and I really do like Adam Cole, and I like him as a talent and like him as a human being and want him to do well. So we're not doing this oh, it's a concussion, and wow, look at us say they I don't want it to be. I'm hoping it's a work. How's that?
I think we all hope it's a
I'm
work.
hoping it's a got me, brother. That's what I hope it is.
We are going to go to one more injury, and at this point, we're going to be talking about WWE Saturday Night's main event. We're not going to do a full review of it because it's my fault, really. I've got to go in less than 20 minutes, so we might have to rush through this slightly. If we don't, we don't. Let's get the information out there and do a good show, but we can't do a full review, unfortunately. Apart from the fact that I just want to make mention that you know how Rikishi complains every single time Jey Uso loses? Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso, they're both his sons. I've got a theory that someone booked that match just to wind up Rikishi.
Wow, that's a great theory. That's a great theory.
Because, like, damn it, why couldn't both of my sons won?
Ooh.
But there you go. Anyway, the major.
Yeah, everybody's gonna hear about that on the Stinky Face podcast.
I hope so. I did mention
that woke
Stinky
you up
Face earlier today. Oh yes, but this is something. Okay, I've heard one theory that this may be a work. Everybody else says that there was major issues backstage because of it, and everyone was frantically running around because there was a timing issue because of the injury to Seth Rollins. And once again, this was live. This was on NBC. And it is Seth Rollins versus LA Knight. And this is an interesting one because everyone was pretty sure that Seth was going to win. And then this happened. So, Stevie, over to you. What went wrong?
Thank you very much, James. Let's talk about the context of this in the pro wrestling world, because this is where we think everything's a work. Even if it's a real injury, it's a work, or it doesn't look so ugly that it's a real injury, like the way he did the backflip that we're going to talk about, lands on his feet and acts like he popped his knee out. The problem is he's not a babyface. He's a heel. He has the money in the bank and obviously a storyline where he's going over on just about everybody. So my guess would have been he is going to beat LA Knight. Also, it was so apparent that it was off for the finish. Like even LA Knight's look was just like, there was that half look of concern as he's looking at Seth Rollins, who's a heel, a hated heel. Then there's the fan cam footage afterwards of them helping him to the back. And Paul, you want this guy to be hated. Why are you putting sympathy on him? That's where my antennas go up, that it's not a work. So do you feel the same way before we get into it?
Yeah, well, the only person who said it might be a work was Dave Meltzer. So there you
go. But he gave this match 8 stars to counter the Mox. No, he'd never do that.
No, it wasn't AEW. It wasn't in the Egg Dome, so it couldn't have been 8 stars.
Quick train ride. All right, here we go. Oh, you know what? Let's stop it. No. I think there's an Easter egg in this. Everybody thinks when he landed on the backflip, the part 2, a swanton and then the moonsault, but he lands on his feet. Did you notice the first part of this? When he landed?
Yeah, there's a tiny bit of a wobble, isn't there? Yeah.
No, it's like his leg was underneath him. His knee was underneath him. Slow-mo. That. Now he sells the right knee. You would think it's the left leg right here. But I think it's this. As he slow-mos him. Look, see it? The leg buckles here. So he's trying to get to his feet. He's on his toe. And his leg buckles in there. So I think this is a 2-part injury. See that little knee buckle on the inside? At first, I thought this knee might be hurt. See how he lands like that? But as he gets up, and there is a little bit of a wobble. I just think he might have had it tweaked, and it's an MCL injury, isn't it?
Has it been announced yet?
I might have heard MCL, because the MCL, I believe, is on the inside.
In fact, I've got an injury update right here. So, updates are available on Seth Rollins' injury. Brian Alvarez reports this. Seth is injured, appears to be serious. The last 40 minutes of the show were changed on the fly, and there was something that was supposed to happen later that didn't as a result of the injury. In storyline, Seth has until next June to cash in, so even with surgery and long-term recovery, that isn't an update. Just says it was legitimate. Dave Meltzer responds, someone who I 100% trust told me, Dave, don't go so strong on the idea that it's real at all, because they pretty much heard about it on Thursday. So I don't know. I mean, everybody thinks that it's real. I don't want to say more. Everyone's going with the idea it's real. It's only one person who told me that it wasn't, but it was someone to warn me. But who the hell knows? Well, I mean, it seems pretty real to me, but we'll see, obviously. But this isn't... We've watched the first part of it. Let's see the second part of it and see where the actual... true damage was done.
I don't know.
Does that look a bit silly, do you think?
It does, but if it's real, that first senton or swanton where his knee buckled in the inside could have been the initial injury. And then when he lands, dude, the impact actually pops the knee. If it's real. That's what I mean. If you go back to this is the important one. That right there, buckle right there, and a little bit of a wobble. And then we'll take it slow.
We do have another angle of this later on in the video as well.
Here it is. It looks worked with this, but if I didn't see that first buckle, I would believe it's an absolute work. But then I'm like, what are you working towards? He's not a babyface. He's a heel. He's got the money in the bank. He's got the group with him. Unless he comes out on crutches or a wheelchair and reenacts the Bret Hart heel run where he gets super kicked out of the wheelchair. But this looks... Also, rolling to the outside and going right to Paul. What do you think about that?
It was interesting. He was sat in the corner for like 2 minutes. Did it go through a commercial?
I'm not sure, but he was there forever. And then obviously the finish happens, and then it's just literally the look LA Knight gives him after the finish. And I have another angle here. I have fan cam that shows the right here. So he basically does this. Then let's see how he comes out. He's still stumbling. He's kind of dragging that right leg. Did you see that?
Yeah, you can play this all the way through if it's fan cam.
Even the bump.
Because this
is it.
Yeah, even Ed Begley Jr. wanders up to check on him.
There is confusion there with LA Knight. But I want to tell you this. If Seth Rollins, just the way he sold us, Seth Rollins would bounce on the BFT and then he has a way of putting himself in position to get pinned. Watch this. He just flattens out and lays there. Doesn't even sell. See? It's like just he puts himself down in a push-up position. And that's it. And then I'm just looking. It's like that. LA Knight's not overexcited about winning either.
No, he gets out there really quickly, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Sort of reminds
me
of
this
the fact that
this is a heel.
Probably real.
This guy's a heel, one of the top heels in the company. But you want to do all this and show all this and get him sympathy. If you're working, then it doesn't make a bit of sense to me. Is this the same knee he injured when he did the flipping powerbomb out of the corner on the international show way back? Remember he blew his knee out against Kane?
I know for a fact he's had a history of knee issues that have kept him out for a long time, so I don't know which knee it was.
I think that was the right knee. It's
not without precedent.
I think it was the right knee with Kane, and it was an international show. He did the sunset flip out of the corner when Kane was on top of him. Where he flipped over and tried to powerbomb through a table, and his right knee, I believe, was the right knee that buckled on that.
So what are you leaning towards then? Definitely real? It looks pretty real.
I'm leaning towards real because of the swanton, I think, is what initially buckled the knee and hurt the inside of the knee, it looked like. And then when he did the flip and landed on his feet, it popped the knee out.
So only time will tell.
But if you're working us, what's your end game if you're working us?
Well, the thing is like, why would you take Seth Rollins away from that group as well? Because I was saying beforehand, not on this show, so I don't like that group at all. I don't think, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins makes that much sense at all as a group. But now you take Seth Rollins out of it. Now Paul Heyman's just managing what is still really now just a mid-card tag team. So you wouldn't do that to Paul as a part of the storyline, unless it's one giant, fake out.
Well, all three guys are over, and Paul's over separately on their own right. Why would you put them together?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I just they don't pass the eye test as a unit for me. Those guys.
Basically, they're AOP 2.0.
Yeah, but they've got some creative.
No. What I'm saying is they're the same presentation as Seth, the leader. Two guys wearing black, big guys in the back wearing black. That's it.
We're going to go on to the last thing of this show and the last match of Saturday night's main event. And it's Bill Goldberg versus Gunther. Now, just before we get to the match itself, how many of the people did you recognize were walking Goldberg out to the ring?
Ernest Miller, Chuck Zito, Doug Dillinger, who I can't believe he's still alive. God bless him. The guy with the tattoos in the front looked familiar, and then behind Ernest Miller was another guy that looked familiar, but it might have been just his friends or training partners or jiu-jitsu guys. Ernest Miller, Chuck Zito, Doug Dillinger were the guys. And, of course, his son was with him too, right?
Yeah, his son was with him too. Yeah, I realized I asked you that question, and then I didn't have like an image to show you, but I'll figure that out in a minute who it was. There was one guy like front right that I couldn't remember. Oh, it was Josh Barnett. That's
it. Yeah, Josh Barnett. So he had MMA guys, I think, with him too.
Yeah. And he makes it to ringside, etc. You go, whatever happened.
Did you point that out for a reason? He made it to ringside. He made it.
He did make it to ringside thanks to his friends. That being said, my catchphrase for this show, especially when I'm tired and can't think of what to say. What do you think of the match then?
Oh, it exceeded expectations. If anything, the one critique I was looking at, Goldberg put size back on. He ate. He was able to get there. Gunther's starting to become Walter. He's gaining weight. He's getting bigger. He's getting softer. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
That's not good, man. I mean, I understand, but it's an issue. But he's starting to look softer and bigger. But the work was there. It didn't matter. And you know what? Gunther looked like a credible threat against Goldberg during this match.
Isn't that weird that you say it that way, though? You didn't say that Goldberg looked like a credible threat against Gunther.
Well, because I thought, in a way, that they were going to make it as short as possible and have Gunther either lose or actually have Goldberg knock himself out and go into the choke. But they worked. He didn't shy away from Gunther's chops. He was there. I mean, you could tell that Goldberg was getting gassed prematurely as usual, but this was a really, really good match. And dare I say it, this could have been a pay-per-view quality match between these guys.
15 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, there were tons of bells and whistles to go along with it as well. But I mean, this might sound really stupid. The pacing of it was Okada Omega from All In at the exact same time, practically, that it was happening. Just very slow, very easily digestible. Goldberg didn't embarrass himself one bit.
No, he looked great.
Which is the best thing you can say.
He looked great. And that's what I'm saying. It kind of stood out that Gunther's not in the greatest shape because Goldberg looked really good.
Has he had his appendix removed or something? Because when Goldberg was stood there, I was noticing like a big scar with like a tiny bit of like a skin fold over it, just above his trunk. Not that I'm staring at his trunks all the time, but has he had his like appendix out or something?
Well, if he did, I know you'd have to really wear like Speedos or something to see the appendix scar, the appendectomy scar. He might have had another surgery, another stomach surgery or something like that he needed. That could have been part of the reason why he couldn't train, he couldn't eat. Things like that. Remember, he said he had trouble eating to get big again. So there could be a connection to that.
Maybe he had food pumped directly into his intestines.
Oh, he got a feeding tube?
Okay. Yeah. It's like a reverse colostomy.
My father-in-law's got that. It's not a fun thing to have.
No. So take us through the match itself from beginning to end, the bits that impressed you, because Goldberg, he's still got the charisma, man. It's like even when he took a chop and he's like, just the little grin.
The thing I would say is that because I could tell Goldberg was getting gassed, but he was getting gassed in terms of the storyline too, that he's a 58-year-old guy. He's not full-time. This is his last match. We're going to talk about that if it was really his last match or not. The pacing, the booking, the way Gunther allowed him to sell and keep his win throughout the match is really good. They did very basic spots. They shined Goldberg, but they were really taking care of both guys in this match. In other words, what I was looking at is, and we speculated, is this going to be something that's going to basically hurt Gunther? A very quick match, just to get Goldberg in and out. And Goldberg didn't have the attitude of, I'm just here to get in and out. I don't know why I had that feeling that Goldberg came to give his hometown audience and crowd and the people watching the show their money's worth. That's what I felt. That he was really going to leave it all in the ring and not just, hey, I'm going to have a Goldberg match and get out of here.
It was Atlanta, Georgia as well. He said in the post-match that he's never lost in Georgia. We'll talk about very briefly the speech afterwards. But what do you think of the finish? Because we speculated a few weeks ago, as so many other people did, that why was Jey Uso beaten just unceremoniously by Gunther? So it was a world title match between Gunther and Goldberg. Did it need the belt? And then what would happen with the belt? Does Gunther win and then Goldberg loses in retirement? Does Goldberg win and then he's got the belt and then he retires and then it sort of reduces the importance of that title? Does Seth Rollins interrupt and cash in Money in the Bank on Goldberg?
I think that's what was supposed to happen.
I'm wondering that.
Yep. I think this was an audible that was called. I think Goldberg was supposed to go over.
I got a feeling you might be right. I don't know why, but I thought maybe that would be it. Because with Paul Heyman, with Seth Rollins, and, you know, you need to keep the momentum going, that's the most important faction on Raw.
And you need to save everybody in a way and get Gunther to not have to look less than after the title, or maybe he tries to fight Seth Rollins for the title. Here's the thing, too. You just said that when this happened with Seth Rollins, they were scrambling to figure out for the rest of the show. That's a clue to me.
No, it could have been a timing thing. But the thing is that it was the end of the match, and we didn't say this with Seth. You know, truly, if he is injured, he's hurt his knee really badly. He sat there for 2 minutes, and then he got up and took LA Knight's finish. He didn't give him a referee's decision. He said, no, I'm going to eat the pin, assuming that is what happened. But what about Goldberg? I mean, either way, he was taking a loss.
Yeah.
Either way, he was going to end up in the losing end of the stick. So does that say something for Goldberg, who may not have had the greatest reputation as far as doing business at times, but he was more than happy to lose or be on the losing end of the stick for his own retirement?
Yeah, I think so. Let's go to the Seth thing first. I think that is Seth saying to himself very quickly in his own mind, possibly, I'm out. I probably need surgery. Let me at least take the pin from LA Knight to get him over. Maybe we got some business when I come back. Rather than just calling it, doing the X and doing that to keep Seth over, brother. No, he said, I'm going to get up, take his finish clean out of nowhere. And that's what I'm saying. If it was fake or a work, why did the finish just come out of nowhere and he took it 1, 2, 3 and get out of there? The LA Knight should have stood there and celebrated, but he got out of the ring and let the Seth have it as an injured person. So, yeah, the Goldberg thing, I don't know. See, that's the one thing. I don't think Goldberg would have. Maybe he's doing good business because he knows his kid's going to go into the developmental. Maybe it's more about his kid than him.
Maybe. All right. I didn't have any follow-up question there. I'm sorry.
All I'm saying with that is, what's Goldberg going to do? Maybe he has self-awareness now. Why do I have to? Okay, I'll put Gunther over, and this is just going to be it. And then the fans they're expecting me to win, but maybe I'm going to be coaching Gage to be a wrestler. And maybe it's going to be Gage and Gunther. And everybody was like, oh my God, do you think it? They've done it before with Dominic, right? So he got in there way too quick.
Yeah, but it worked out really well.
It did, but initially he was very green in the ring.
Yeah, fans were very charitable with Dominic.
It was the COVID era,
weren't they? Yeah. Oh, okay, right. Well, they just muted him, I guess. But yeah, they were very charitable, and then just all of a sudden he just came out with this great character of just being a little slime ball, and it just worked out fantastically. So who knows? It just with the kids of wrestlers. I mean, it gets your foot in the door, but man, do you have extra scrutiny going on you?
Not as much as before. I don't know, man. The business has changed. It's changed in so many ways. I'm not sure if they would be now. With Gage, they'll do what they do with Dominic. Remember when Seth lit him up with the cane or the strap way back in the COVID era? So, Hey, let's get Gage Goldberg in there because I want Gage to turn on Bill, and then Bill at WrestleMania next year. And guess what? I want Bill to come out with
Dominic Mysterio,
the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot, makes a return.
Of course.
Oh, got me, brother.
If you have to do a star rating for this, Goldberg versus Gunther.
Whoa, out of 7? Or is it the new 8-star?
No, it's out of 7, yeah. It's out of 7. It's tough to rate, really, isn't it?
Well, you know what? If you look at the body of work and you look at what you expect of Goldberg to go more than 15 minutes and have more than a passable match at his
and
age.
lose clean.
At his age, I got to give him a minimum of 5-star. Yeah, and giving us a finish that we didn't expect. Clean.
On that basis, once again, I must have said that 18 times. I'm going to do the outro because I've got to do the quick version because I must go. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. The major thing that we always plug on this is the Stevie Richards Show Patreon. And I'm now going to throw it to you what we got coming today as this is released.
I honestly don't remember.
Is it Outrunners FTR?
Yes, I think it's going to be that. It was initially going to be Bump for Goldberg and Gunther, but that'll be next Monday. Yes, Outrunners and FTR from Collision.
Super duper. In fact, I've changed my mind. You do the thank yous to the Patreon because you do it so well.
Okay, want to thank everybody here on YouTube first and foremost. Thank you so much for subscribing, clicking the bell to get notified, and also commenting and interacting. Want to thank all our Patreon members, patreon.com/Stevie Richards. I finally remember Outrunners versus FTR on Collision. I'm so sorry, Tess. We got to bump you back another week or 26. We'll figure it out. But for everybody here at the Stevie Richards Show and WSI with James, remember, he has a new channel coming out, Listmania. Can we say the name?
Yeah, why not?
There we go.
So we're doing Listmania Wrestling. I think I've recorded 5 of them. 3 of them should be out. I'm hoping before the end of the month. And then we'll do something like that weekly. We've got more people involved in WSI as well. We're getting additional help with script writing, creating social media stuff. So it's going from about 2 or 2 and a bit or 3 people working for me to about 6. So that's going to be fun. But we are expanding, let me tell you that. One more thing I want to say is everybody, once again, we're on all podcast platforms. New episode, usually every Friday. This is out on either Sunday night and Monday, whenever it's coming out. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back next Friday at the usual time. So until then,
aha.